A man shows up to take the entrance exam at the academy, and he leaves the world's greatest sword goddess completely speechless. Because the moment the fight starts, he vanishes, appearing right behind the examiner, and with a single devastating slash, he takes her down. The sight moves the sword goddess, a woman who has never once taken on a student, to consider it for the very first time, and she senses something more, a mysterious power lurking deep within him. What neither of them knows is this. In his previous life, he had already reached the absolute pinnacle of swordsmanship, an undefeated sword god. He fought alone and faced humanity's greatest enemy head-on, but he underestimated the liquidator with a single strike. His heart was run clean through. He thought that was the end, but the very next instant he finds himself in a mysterious space, standing before a being who calls himself Kronos, the god of time. Kronos tells him he holds a power greater than the liquidator's, one that has never awakened. So he gives him the chance to be reborn with his memories and soul completely intact. Everything resets to zero. Kronos entrusts him with the fate of this world. He opens his eyes and he's lying flat in an open field. In the distance, the village he calls home, Rionato. The shock hits him like a wall. Has he really come back? Then a sharp pain shoots through his arm. He looks at the wound. This is Build's doing from the last time he and his crew came after him. A silent promise forms. He will never lose to someone like that again. In 10 years, the liquidator will appear in this world. His power is overwhelming. No one anywhere in the world can stand against him. Kronos said his own power surpasses even the liquidator's, but it still hasn't awakened. Just as he's about to head back and think things through, he runs into Build, the guy who's been tormenting him for years. Build had been looking for him everywhere, and of all places, he finds him here in the forest. He tosses a sword at his feet. Says he's facing him in a practice match today, or he's not letting him leave. He's not feeling it. He tells Build his wounds haven't healed yet, they can fight when they do. Build tells him not to worry, the swords are blunted, so this is basically just. And before he even finishes talking, he launches straight at him. He comes in hard and fast, but our guy sidesteps without even thinking. He's been through countless battles. To him, Build's sword moves like it's standing still. Everyone who watches is stunned. Since when did he get so fast? He steps back to keep some distance and picks up the sword from the ground. If that's what Build's asking for, he'll be more than happy to give him exactly what he wants. The moment he grabs the sword, Build launches another attack. He rises and counters in a single clean strike. Build's sword goes flying. Build is caught completely off guard. He tells himself it was just luck. But at the second exchange, our guy smiles. Don't worry, he says, blunted blades are safe, remember. And brings the sword down on him. Even with a dull blade, he opens a gash right on Build's shoulder. Build drops to his knees, both hands pressing hard against the wound as blood seeps between his fingers. All of this went exactly as expected, but he's not done yet. While Build is still frozen in shock, he slams the flat of the blade right into his mouth. The impact knocks several of Build's teeth loose, and now Build is trembling. How did you get so strong? He stammers, desperate. Build calls out to his crew to step in. In less than 3 seconds, they've got a plan. He's gotten strong, hit him from behind all at once. Moments later, they've surrounded him. He lets out a cold laugh. They all want the same thing. Build just got served. They don't listen, and they all rush him at the same time. He smiles again. He was going to let them walk, but they had their chance. 10 minutes later, every single one of them is on the ground. He used to be terrified of these guys, and now he's dropped every last one of them without breaking a sweat. If he remembers correctly, they train at the Desaria fencing dojo. And he's right, but lately they've been skipping training, convinced they're already strong enough. Almost feels like a waste of pity. This is what passes for strong around here. The dojo probably can't offer him much in terms of pure skill, but there's one thing he needs from it. He's never been there, but he remembers you need a recommendation just to get through the door. Build tells him to ask someone else. If his master finds out he lost, he's getting punished. His response: one clean sword strike, effortless. Just stop talking, he says. Do what you're told. The blade swings and another sword splits clean in two right in front of Build's face. Build takes off running. He'll show him the way, he says. The dojo's right nearby. He'll take him there. On the way, Build asks why he even wants to go. With his strength, the dojo should be pointless. He tells him straight, the dojo has a recommendation slot for the academy, that's what he's after. Someone mutters under their breath. Even for the academy, someone as strong as him shouldn't need to go there. Words pull him into a memory. If strong enough really were enough, he wouldn't mind, but it's nowhere close to enough. Not even the greatest strength in the world could survive a single hit from the Liquidator. Even when he briefly tapped into that mysterious power, the moment the Liquidator got serious, he couldn't even graze him. He has no idea how much strength he'll actually need to beat him. But in that moment, however brief it was, he truly held that dark power in his hands. And for that one instant, he stood as the greatest sword god. Back then, he'd focused everything on the swordsmanship the Sword Saint had taught him. But if he could train in multiple sword disciplines at once the way the Sword Saint did, his power could grow in ways he can't even imagine yet. But wielding the dark power and becoming a sword god in his past life was only a single fleeting moment. His true swordsmanship was still too raw. That's why he believes Kronos, the god of time, sent him back. Shortly after he arrives at the dojo, the master apologizes for her student's behavior. She's already expelled him. She won't tolerate that kind of conduct from any of her students. He goes straight to the point. He's heard she can write a letter of recommendation for the academy. That's what he's here to ask for. At that, she draws a sword in one fluid motion. She says she's willing to write it, but first she needs to see what he's capable of. She tells him to make the first move, attack whenever he's ready. He doesn't hesitate. The moment she finishes speaking, he closes the distance. In just 3 seconds, they exchange over a dozen blows. The master's is thrown off by his speed. There's something strange about this. To her eyes, the swordsmanship he's showing at his age is precise and practical, as if it's been forged through countless real battles. That build ever lost to him, he never stood a chance. Still, something else catches her attention. His style looks mostly self-taught, but every so often, traces of formal academy technique slip through. Did someone train you before? In the end, the master reaches her verdict. His swordsmanship is rough, but the talent is undeniably there. A quiet smile spreads across her lips, a diamond in the rough ready to be polished. Then she decides it's time to end it. It's a shame to wrap it up, but the moment has come. But he's had her read from the very beginning. He's been waiting for exactly this. He lunges forward and in one move, he disarms her. The master's eyes fly open in surprise. After that, no matter how many strikes she throws, he blocks them one after another. She doesn't understand. Why won't he fall back? How can he keep up with her like this? She wanted to test him a little. Now she finds herself forced to go all out. And then she feels something she hasn't felt in a very long time. Fear. The realization hits her hard. In that instant, he raises his sword and the mysterious power begins to emanate from his body. Almost without realizing it, the power awakened right as she charges in. He swings and a faint trail of dark energy tears through the air, but the master doesn't push through it. She pulls back instantly. Some deep instinct told her not to. And that surge of mysterious power has left him completely drained. His body feels empty. The master seizes the opening. She steps in to land the finishing blow. Her instincts weren't wrong. She just hadn't received the actual hit yet, so she never felt what it carried with it. But when her sword comes down, the expression on her face transforms into pure shock. Her sword is broken, sliced cleanly in two, and she didn't even register it happening. His earlier strike had already cut through her wooden sword. Had she pushed forward, it wouldn't have been the blade that broke. He's just as stunned. He's used that power from his past life again. Then his mind goes completely blank, and he collapses to his knees right in front of her. This makes one thing crystal clear: his body is not ready to handle this power. He forces himself to his feet. "I'm fine," he says. He considers telling her about the power. She's clearly strong, stronger than most. But he drops the idea. She'd never believe him, and honestly, he can't even control it himself. She lets out a soft laugh. He just got a little carried away, that's all. The master stares at the broken sword with an unreadable expression. Logically, this should be impossible. A dull blade shouldn't be able to do this, and she's certain that he knows it too. Seeing her expression go serious, he plays dumb immediately. "What's wrong?" She meets his gaze head on. If he's not going to talk, she won't push. Then she turns to face him directly. "You wanted a letter of recommendation for the academy, didn't you?" She says she can write one recommending him to the Royal Sword Academy, the finest institution in the kingdom. But she won't be sending him there. Her reason is simple: that place isn't for him. Disappointment hits him hard, but she's not wrong. The way he is right now, he'd barely make an impression. He lacks raw physical power and his swordsmanship technique is still too green. But then, she completely changes direction. Don't misunderstand me, she says. The place he should be going is the World United Academy. Those words hit him like a bolt of lightning. This isn't the best academy in the kingdom. This is the most prestigious academy in the entire world. Countless legends have walked through those doors, and it's the very same place where the Sword Saint himself was trained. He stares at her in disbelief. With his current strength, how would they ever accept him? She knows that better than anyone. He can sense it himself. His body is nowhere near the level of a proper sword genius. At the Royal Sword Academy, maybe his technique could carry him through, but at the World United Academy, that won't cut it. Even she doesn't understand how he reached this level of skill with such a frail body. She lets out a sigh. Inside, every student at that academy is a monster. With this body of his, he doesn't even meet the baseline to compete. The master tells him not to get discouraged. There are 9 months left until the exam. They're cutting it close, but there's still time. His heart skips a beat. Is she saying what he thinks she's saying? And sure enough, just as he hoped, the master tells him to prepare to suffer. What she has planned for him is nothing short of hellish. He has no idea just how brutal it's going to be, but that's exactly what he wanted. So for the next 9 months, he's in her hands. Whatever it takes, he'll give everything he has. From that day on, he follows the master's training plan to the letter. Every single day, without exception, it's relentless. On top of that, he has to fuel his body. The master prepares mountains of meat and spirit elixirs, with flavors so revolting they make him gag, all to forge his body and push it to new limits. But the core of it all is swordsmanship. Training with the master takes up the bulk of every single day. 8 months pass in the blink of an eye and his physique has completely transformed. The master says she doesn't have much left to teach him. The next step is heading to the World United Academy with confidence. There's still a month left, but the master believes he shouldn't walk into that exam somewhere unfamiliar. Better to arrive early and get a feel for the place. Before setting out, she also makes sure he has more than enough money for the journey. He takes the funds she gives him and makes a silent promise he will not let her down. He's ready to depart for the World United Academy. The Maz, she gives a small smile. She'll pray for him to pass. He should write to her when he does. More than 20 days later, he finally arrives at the World United Academy. Never in his life has he seen a place as grand as this. And now the academy is about to hand out the exam access passes. The number of applicants here is staggering, but only around 20. He will actually make it, though that number shifts wildly every year. Sometimes 50, sometimes just 1, sometimes 100, nobody knows. Before long, a red-haired woman steps forward to address the crowd. Let's cut to it, she says. The access passes are already being distributed. Applicants, please take the pass that appears before you. She snaps her fingers and, with the snap, a golden light spreads across the entire crowd. Out of nowhere, a slip of paper appears in the hand of every single applicant. His reads, Candidate 513, Leveling Course. A voice rings out from the platform. Some of you might be surprised to see nothing on your pass except a number and a course name. Don't worry, it's the same every year. The World United Academy does not discriminate based on age, gender, nationality, background, or anything else. Here, not even your name means anything. Only those who pass the exam and earn the right to cross the bridge will be asked for their name, and if they prefer, they may even give a false one. It doesn't matter. This catches him off guard. He never told anyone he wanted the sword arts course, so how did they know? She assigned courses based on appearance alone, she says, and if anyone got the wrong course, they can raise their hand and she'll kneel down and personally apologize. Nobody buys it. There's no way. They must have investigated everyone beforehand. Some whisper that she used magic to read minds. After a moment of silence, no one raises their hand. She continues and announces the exam schedule. The moment she finishes speaking, numbers appear on his credential. Fencing course, day 11:11, morning. He grumbles under his breath. It's already day 1. He was hoping to have time for his arm to recover. The red-haired woman speaks again. It's a single practical exam. Anyone who arrives late will be automatically disqualified. Please be there on time. Individual requests to reschedule will not be accepted. He raises his hand and touches his arm. Just a few more days and everything would have been different. On his way here, he ran into Logos and his crew. Cornered and outnumbered, he fell back on the mysterious power once more. With a single strike, General Logos vanished. After that, he needed a long time to recover, which is why he only arrived on the last day before the exams. His arm took serious damage in that fight. Looks like he'll be heading into this exam injured. A staff member approaches to tell him it's time. He stands up. He breathes slowly, deeply. This is not the moment to be pessimistic. His left arm works perfectly and his right still moves a little. That should be enough to get through this. The moment the fight starts, he needs to find the examiner's weak point fast and take him down before time runs out. Right ahead, another applicant is in the middle of a bout against the examiner. The examiner drops low instantly and then launches a single strike that sends the stocky candidate flying. The defeated candidate picks up his weapon and steps off the combat area. A grim smile forms on his lips. With this arm, he's in trouble. Taking the examiner down fast with this injury is going to be almost impossible. The examiner finishes off the candidate. He scans the area and calls out, "You're next. Stop dragging your feet." He walks toward the arena. His confidence wavers. His right hand is in bad shape. The examiner stands with both hands clasped behind his back. "You may attack first," he says. "Give it everything." He grips the handle tighter. No need to be told twice. He knows this is his only shot. He launches forward and in that instant his master's words come flooding back. She said a sword strike isn't just the arm, it's the full force of the entire body channeled through it. Now is the time to put that into practice. Even if his right arm is compromised, if he can channel force through the rest of his body, it'll work. He closes the distance and swings. He followed her teachings, but fighting like this is nowhere near normal for him. The arm limits him far more than he expected. If it were easy to attack without arm strength, nobody would bother training their body in the first place. The examiner spots the opening and moves to counter. He's not letting that happen. Something hits him. Why is the examiner's sword moving so slow? He wouldn't be here if he weren't strong. That only leaves one explanation. His own speed has increased. The examiner's blade cuts through the air and he deflects it with almost no effort. He measures the gap between him and the master. This guy's raw power is impressive, but his speed and technique are nowhere near hers. If he leans on the swordsmanship she taught him, he might be able to cover for what his arm can't do. Blows cross between them for tens of seconds, the sharp clang of clashing blades ringing through the air. Slowly it becomes clear his speed has the edge. He was right, the examiner can't keep up. A flicker crosses the examiner's face. His expression tightens. That look gives him a glimpse of hope. He's not as strong as he feared. He still has a chance. Exactly as the master said, she was certain he'd pass the test. With a sharp ring of metal, their swords clash again. This time he has the edge. A flick of the wrist sends the examiner's sword flying. Now it's his turn. He feels it now, real confidence. Even with his right hand useless, he knows he can win. But the examiner is fast. He pulls back immediately and launches a rapid chain of counterattacks, but every single move is readable. He sees each strike coming before it lands. The examiner's swordsmanship has no more secrets. He focuses everything into his left hand, one clean strike, no frills, straight at the body, and it gets blocked. And that tells him something. The gap between them is still too wide. He can't break through the guard. Winning with one arm isn't going to be easy. Things aren't looking great, but the examiner's movements are getting sloppier. It's risky, but this might be the opening he needs. He deliberately leaves an opening, and just as expected, the examiner takes the bait. Exactly as he planned. His heart hammers in his chest. He has to hold through the incoming hit. He cannot afford a single mistake. The examiner attacks without hesitation, convinced it's over. But our guy smiles. Finally, he thinks, there it is. This is exactly the moment he's been waiting for. He pulls his body inward and channels every last ounce of power into his legs. Then he explodes and vanishes from where he stood. An instant later, he's behind the examiner. There's no better position, no matter how wide the power gap is. Once he's at someone's back, it's over. The examiner's eyes go wide in disbelief. He never imagined he could move that fast. He doesn't give him time to react, time to end this, but just as he's about to drive the blade in, a voice from above shouts, "Stop," he freezes. In that instant, the sword hangs suspended right behind his back. He looks up, confused. They're calling his victory, but he hasn't landed a single hit. A voice from above announces, "Time's up." The result is a draw. The shock is like ice water. He'd been so locked into the fight he completely forgot. The match lasts 3 minutes. The thought is overwhelming. He's let the master down. The frustration builds until it's suffocating. His grip on the sword tightens, loosens, then tightens again. He turns and walks off the mat. He gave everything. Without that arm, he would have ended it in a second. If he can't even beat this examiner, the road ahead is going to be brutal. He stops and turns back slowly. His arm should be healed by next year. He'll come back and try again. Time moves fast. A week passes. Inside the academy, 6 people are seated around a large round table. The elder, the one with the greatest authority, speaks first. "Now that the exams are over, what do you all think of the candidates? Does anyone have anything to add?" 2 instructors groan, clearly exhausted. One says it's not efficient for everyone to review together. Next year they should split up the workload, but another cuts in. They can't afford to miss a genius just because they want a more comfortable schedule. The elder raises his hand slowly, a trace of irritation in his voice. He asked for their opinions on the students, not on the exam system. Instantly, full recordings of every candidate's exam appear in the room. They'll be reviewing these recordings to evaluate the most standout performances, then weighing each candidate's qualities and strengths before deciding on admissions. The last group reviewed is the Sword Arts course. Beyond those who defeated the examiner, candidates 5C17 and 753 stand out. An instructor suggests the rest won't be able to keep up with the course. Either way, let's stop here. Silence falls over the room. The elder continues watching. After a long pause, he finally speaks. The accepted candidates for the Sword Arts course are confirmed. Any further input? Then a voice rises. Didn't any of you notice candidate 513? The elder's gaze sharpens slightly. Is there something notable about candidate 513? The one who spoke, is that Professor Ariel? What do the rest of you think about candidate 513? All the instructors turn their attention to the recording of candidate 513. One instructor scoffs, seems pretty average to him, and on top of that he's injured. As if that weren't enough, another concedes that he caught part of the match. It looked like he was about to win. But if he has to rely on tricks and bait to beat an examiner, the road ahead will be. His technique is solid, but the lack of power is obvious. Another instructor believes he was on the defensive the entire time. After watching the full match, they conclude the kid doesn't belong at this academy. They all dismiss the recording. Several heads shake around the table. Professor Ariel opens her mouth slightly, then quickly closes it. Inside, she's absolutely delighted. With this many people watching, none of them see it. If everyone's this blind, having them all review together is a complete waste of time. This gem is mine. The next day arrives quickly. Everyone gathers in the central plaza. His applicant number is 513. If the admission pass in his hand ignites, it means he's been accepted. A loud announcement echoes across the entire plaza. The Sword Arts course results are about to be announced. 6 candidates have passed. His heart sinks. This is it. Shortly after the announcement, 2 access passes catch fire, candidates 5 and 217. Then, candidates 432 and 615, followed by 753 and 925. And with that, the list is over. 6 candidates were accepted into the Sword Arts course. He stands there staring, no reaction. His pass didn't ignite. He felt so close to. Applicants, please cross the bridge before the day ends and complete your registration. The accepted applicants laugh and cheer all around him. He stands there with nothing but grief. The sadness is crushing. In the end, he's let the master down. He doesn't know what comes next. Maybe he should look into the Royal Sword Academy. Before he can sink any further, the broadcast cuts back in. Next, they announce the special admission of the Eye of God. In an instant, his access pass glows blue. Candidate number 513 has been accepted. He stands there with a blank face, unable to bell. And not just him, everyone around him is stunned. Nobody expected a special admission from the eye of God. The shock refuses to fade. Did he actually just pass? Himself, someone lets out a dismissive laugh. Another eye of God's special admission, haven't seen one of those in a while. He has no idea what that even is, first time he's ever heard of it. But the looks he's getting are filled with contempt. That's nothing but a backdoor admission, someone murmurs. The World United Academy has really fallen. It catches him off guard, so the eye of God's special admission is seen as a backdoor pass. His mind goes straight to the master. He has no connections, but her network might reach much further than he imagined. Far enough to get him into the World United Academy by pulling strings, but the elder steps in and cuts them off. You too, enough, don't speak about the eye of God's special admission like that. It's a category of honor that over the course of a century has produced countless heroes. You reckless young people don't know anything. The two just laugh it off. Old-timers sure love their eye of God, don't they? That glory is ancient history, and it's not like they're completely wrong. In recent years, among those admitted through the eye of God's special admission, there's Amy White, Bella Albright, Rick Mueller, and Jacob Bloomfield, all admitted through the eye of God, but every single one of them failed completely. Even the current candidates know it. So now the eye of God's special admission is just another name for sneaking in through the back door. Amy White, in his previous life, she went on to reach the level of a sword god, and Bella Albright, the greatest mage in the world. Those three were the core of the force sent to fight the Liquidator, and all three had been admitted through special admission. That revelation makes him swallow hard, which means his name now stands alongside theirs. An announcement comes over the PA system. The enrollment ceremony will begin in 30 minutes. Those who have already changed into their uniforms, please gather in the plaza in front of the main building. By then, he's already changed along with the other students. They wait, but no one comes. They start to wonder if they're even in the right place. Then an instructor comes rushing over, completely out of breath, and apologizes profusely. A planning error, they're still setting up the venue. He apologizes for the delay. He asks everyone to step back a bit so he can set up the staircase right here. Everyone steps back 10 meters and then they see it. On the ground, a golden magic pattern takes shape. Everything goes. Completely baffling, what exactly is this instructor doing? He slowly places his hand, palm flat against the ground. In an instant, golden magic begins spreading outward from his palm. At the same time, a golden magical formation lights up across the entire plaza. A golden staircase rises from the ground and extends all the way to the entrance across from them. Everyone is stunned. What kind of power is this? The density of that magic is unlike anything they've ever seen, and this is just one of the Academy's instructors. In the blink of an eye, golden staircases rise on both sides of the main building. Every student just stands there, completely breathless. The instructor smiles quietly. You may go up now, sit wherever you like. Everyone is still in awe of the massive magical transportation formation from just a moment ago. He doesn't bother picking a specific seat. He drops into the nearest empty one. He figures they wanted to hold the enrollment ceremony somewhere with a view of the campus buildings. What an extravagant use of teleportation magic. Magic is something else. But either way, he's finally made it inside the World United Academy. And after seeing the instructor's power over these past 2 days, he can only marvel at just how truly formidable this place really is. In front of him, someone is confused. There aren't that many seats. If only 30 students were admitted, there's no way they'd need this many. Someone else starts to say, they really don't. He doesn't know. The first person doesn't feel the least bit embarrassed. He devoted his entire life to the sword and never bothered to learn anything else. A girl snaps her fingers. In that case, allow me to fill you in. The World United Academy is exactly what its name says. It brings together the best students from every corner of the world. So they're not the only ones. Applicants from around the globe are also being evaluated and admitted. She raises her hand and points upward. Look at the sky, they're already here. In an instant, the sword-focused student's jaw drops. The sky is filled with airships and among them magical beasts. He jumps to his feet, completely overwhelmed. He spots a smaller vessel hanging beneath one of the airships. His eyes go wide. That's the Strato. He once boarded it back when he was still in the Liquidator squad. They say it's one of the largest airships in the world and they've deployed it just for the enrollment ceremony. Well, that's very on brand for the World United Academy. Everything they do is designed to leave a mark. As the airships touch down, students begin filing in one by one from every nation on Earth. Then an enormous hand settles on his. Looks like everyone's arrived, the enrollment ceremony is about to begin. Half an hour of speeches passes in what feels like the blink of an eye and it almost puts him to sleep. Turns out even the World United Academy's enrollment ceremony is just as painfully boring as any other school's. At that moment, a nearby student stands up. Then come the speeches from the top-ranked student of each course. First up, Valon Hart, the best in the sword arts course. As he takes the stage, a murmur ripples through the crowd. That's really the one who took down an examiner in an instant during the entrance exam. Word is his swordsmanship rivals any professor at the academy. This is Leonhard Eppius, an undisputed genius of the sword. He watches with genuine curiosity. The guy is impressive, he'll give him that, but he doesn't recall hearing about any great feats from him in his past life. Leonhard Hart greets the faculty and then poses a question. Feel free to speak freely, the instructors nod, giving him the answer he wanted. He steps forward to speak, and his very first words leave everyone's mouths hanging open. I have a formal complaint against the academy, but first, allow me to address all of you, to those admitted through the proper channels. It is an honor to stand beside you as fellow students of this academy. Let us strive so that by the time we graduate, each of us can make a meaningful contribution to this world. The audience stays unmoved. The speech is painfully generic. Nobody cares. What they actually want to know is what the complaint is about. No applause from below, but Leonhard doesn't seem to mind. He says he looks forward to the day they advance side by side, shoulder to shoulder as students of this institution. Then his tone shifts. His gaze locks onto Professor Ariel and he says, regrettably, there is someone among us who has no right to be here. Am I wrong, Professor Ariel? The eye of God. It's clear that Ariel didn't expect to be called out. This kid has absolutely no idea who he's dealing with. But she smiles and responds calmly. Every student here passed a rigorous exam. They may not be as strong as you, but excluding them wouldn't be wise. Ariel's smile tightens. Why is he addressing her, insinuating that her eye of God is somehow unfair? That was exactly the opening Leonhard was waiting for. He's not referring to those who passed the official exams, he means. Professor Ariel's student, the one who entered through the back door, admitted through the eye of God's special admission. Ariel doesn't get angry, she laughs. This kid genuinely has no fear. She's not sure if it's arrogance or confidence. Leon Hart raises his arm and demands that whoever entered through that special slot step forward, hand over their uniform, and leave the academy. You don't belong. No one moves. Aside from the 30 on his side who know his face, the other hundreds of students have never seen him before. Everyone's curious to find out who Leon Hart is talking about, and obviously he's not stupid enough to stand up in front of all these people. But what's Leon Hart's problem? Where is all this hostility even coming from? Good thing he doesn't know his face. That was close. If he'd been caught, keeping a low profile would have been over, but maybe he can still stay out of all of this. Ariel laughs. The new students this year sure are full of life, aren't they? Leonhard Hart's expression goes cold. Professor, he says through gritted teeth, he's dead serious. Stop admitting students through unofficial channels. In an instant, Ariel appears right behind him. Do you really believe you're stronger than the one I chose? The room goes silent. Leonhard Hart is the top of the fencing course and Ariel is insinuating he might not measure up to some special admission student. Even Leonhard Hart is thrown off. Professor, that joke is a bit much. How could I possibly be weaker than some student who snuck in through the back door? For someone as proud as Leonhard, those words are a direct insult. He holds Ariel's gaze dead on. I am stronger without question. She doesn't take offense. If anything, she enjoys his fire. Then how about a wager? Leonhard frowns. Bring the guy out and settle this right now. He'd leave on his own if he lost, but out of courtesy, he asks what's on the line. Ariel's expression shifts. Her position at this academy and that student's right to remain. Both Leonhard and he go completely still. Professor Ariel is truly something else. But he can't help feeling she's being reckless. His arm is injured, there's no way he could beat Leonhard right now, has she not realized? Leonhard narrows his eyes. Is she planning to have him fight the special admission student? She shakes her head. She'd never do something that crude. If he were to fight with full force, the other student might not survive. As an educator, she would never gamble with a student's life. A vein pulses at Leonhard Hart's temple. He's furious. Professor, he says through clenched teeth. Is she provoking him? She is provoking him because if that's what this is, he'll accept any challenge, even one that could kill him, but Ariel is completely serious. Let's use monsters as the reference point, that way it's much safer. But she knows full well that Leonhard is especially skilled at defeating monsters. The corner of Leonhard's lips tugs upward, so her sources are accurate. What are the exact terms? Ariel keeps it simple. Each side only needs to defeat their assigned target monster. The contest goes in rounds and each target is stronger than the last. Whoever fails first loses. If her side loses, she resigns her position. Both she and any students admitted through the special route will be expelled. He lets out a long sigh. What a mess. He just wanted to train his swordsmanship in peace. And if Leonhard loses, everything plays out exactly as she planned. He walks up and faces her directly, challenge burning in his eyes. So you accept. Leonhard trusts his strength, but first he needs to know what monster he'll be facing. That's something worth respecting about Leonhard Hart. He never lets confidence tip into recklessness. He knows he can handle anything, but he refuses to walk blindly into a trap. She nods with approval, then pretends to think it over. How does an ogre general sound for the first target? If it seems too easy, she can raise the difficulty. The crowd erupts. An ogre general, how could someone at his level possibly face one? But he's confused. Why specifically an ogre general? Could Leonhard be right? Is there some hidden angle here? Leonhard slams his fist on the table. Professor Ariel, he respects her, but he's dead serious. An ogre general, he says, frustration twisting his expression, is not a monster anyone can take down alone. Ariel clarifies, of course, she doesn't mean right now. She sets the deadline at 1 year. That sounds reasonable. Leonhard still isn't satisfied. If someone could train for just 1 year and take down a masterclass monster solo, people wouldn't be suffering the way they do. He pushes for a more realistic target. Nobody can do what she's describing. Upon hearing Ariel's terms, he opens his mouth slightly. Then the corner of his mouth curves into a smile. He finally understands what she's really trying to say. Meanwhile, Leonhard, still completely unaware he's already walked into the trap, keeps talking. She deliberately chose a target nobody can beat, so there's no clear winner and this whole bet is pointless. He can't accept this. Ariel doesn't argue. She just takes a few slow steps forward. All right, one more condition. If it ends in a draw, you win. Leonhard goes still. So if the special admission student fails to defeat the ogre general, she automatically loses and every special admission student gets expelled. Ariel looks at him with an amused expression. So, how do those terms sound? Leonhard thinks she must have lost her mind. He's starting to feel like the outcome of this bet was decided before it even began. Professor Ariel laughs and turns away. He figures she's got no other cards to play. Any objections, then it's settled. Leonhard still isn't fully at ease. Just to be clear, it has to be a completely intact ogre general. No pre-weakened or altered versions of any kind, right? Of course, Ariel says. Her fingers glide through the air in a relaxed gesture. An intense violet energy concentrates in her ring. She's creating a magic contract. A quill appears and begins writing out the terms in midair. Within moments, the contract is complete and floats before Leonhard. Every detail is written out in full. If he has no objections, he may sign now. Leon, he reads it carefully, no issues. He takes the quill and signs. The bet is accepted. With his name on the contract, Leonhard is certain he'll win. Still, he asks, does she really believe that student can win? Ariel says she doesn't know. It depends on how hard he's willing to train. With that, Professor Ariel calmly returns to her seat. Meanwhile, the instructors are all convinced she's lost her mind. Some suspect she's just looking for an excuse to push him out of his seat. He exhales slowly. These people really know how to make everything complicated. But when she extended the deadline to a full year, something didn't add up. She might be factoring in the battle he fought before, even a mid-ranked one. Right then, Ariel's eyes find his heart jumps. That look confirms it. He was right. This bet was decided from the very begin. Ariel presses a finger to her lips, eyes sparkling with mischief. He has to admit it, she's far more calculating than she lets on. And just like that, his very first class begins. Ma. The instructor speaks from the lectern at a measured pace. Some of you might be surprised that classes are starting from day one, but as students of this academy, remember, not a single day can be wasted. He then explains the fundamentals, specifically how to channel magic. Inside every person flows an invisible energy called ether. By manipulating the magical circuits within the body, we can cast magic. He's seated in the last row, all the way in the back. He'd worried about struggling to keep up, but for now, it's manageable. He already heard this exact explanation back at the training camp. He glances down. There's still one very annoying problem. They put him in the same class as that insufferable guy. He lets out a bitter laugh to himself. He doesn't have time for this. He just needs to make sure that Guy doesn't figure out he's the Eye of God's special admission student, but the instructor catches his expression. You there, far right, looks like you're pretty bored. Turns out he's been watching the whole time. It's been less than 5 minutes and you're already looking around, bold of you. He didn't expect to get caught from the back row. I'm sorry, he says quickly. The instructor's book snaps shut. If he's so confident, then why doesn't he show the rest of the class what he's already got? He fully expects him to know at least the basics. But before the instructor finishes, he cuts in politely. Professor, I'm in the sword arts course. I assumed not knowing magic would be fine. The instructor scoffs. Even if he only uses a sword in combat, he still needs to understand the basics to coordinate with mages. Knowing the fundamentals is non-negotiable. That catches him off guard. The explanation is exactly what he heard at the training camp, which means the spell they're about to be taught is also the same. Before the instructor can say it, he gets there first. The spell would happen to be the ether bullet. The instructor blinks, clearly thrown off. He already knows it. Can he actually use an ether bullet? Thank everything above that hellish training camp has finally paid off. The instructor sees his opportunity. He calls for a demonstration, a duel. Leonhard, you can also use the ether bullet. That's right, Leonhard heart stands. Yes, Professor, he's trained with the ether bullet. Professor, his training goes far beyond swordsmanship. It also includes magic and more, all before he even enrolled here. Facing him in a real bout could be risky. The instructor waves it off. The power gap doesn't matter, just use ether bullets. No one is dying. The student behind you is this year's Eye of God admission. Don't hold back. At those words, the entire class turns to look, everyone eager for a glimpse of the Eye of God student. A chill runs through him. Suddenly he's the center of everything, a target. This wretched instructor just blew his cover entirely. The instructor shoots him a sly look, as if to say, let's see just how impressive you really are, since you're clearly too good to pay attention in my class. Leonhard rises slowly. I suppose I'll have to teach you some manners then. He turns with fury burning in his eyes. I'll show you what kind of place this academy really is. He doesn't get it. Leonhard has his genius routine and he has his special admission. What's the issue? They could just leave each other alone. An uncomfortable expression spreads across his face. He has absolutely no idea how long this guy is going to keep coming after him. A moment later, Leonhard Hart and he are standing at the front of the class. The instructor tells them on his signal they'll each fire their ether bullets at one another. Honestly, he's not feeling great about this. He only trained in magic for a few days back at the camp. The instructor says he's not going to die, but coming out of this unscathed seems unlikely. The instructor gives the signal. Leonhard has already formed an ether bullet in his hand. He says with contempt he'll show him just how wide the gap between them really is. No other option, he raises his hand and channels the ether bullet he learned at the camp. Leonhard's ether bullet fires. It's tiny. His, on the other hand, is like a cannonball, roughly 300 times bigger than Leonhard's. For an instant, neither of them moves, but the ether bullet is already released. There's no stopping it now. Leonhard goes pale. A direct hit from something like that would kill him, no question. The instructor thrusts out his arm. A shimmering barrier races across the space between them. A barrier forms, trapping the ether bullet and saving Leonhard Hart. He's left deeply shaken. That was close. But how did this student produce an ether bullet that enormous? Before he can even process it, cracks begin splitting across the barrier. The next second, everything gives way. An enormous shockwave launches them both off their feet. The force of the blast wave makes everyone scatter, eyes squeezed shut against the pressure. Leonhard is hurled backward, his entire body taking the full force of the impact. The instructor rushes over. Is he all right? He gets closer and sees Leonhard trembling. Leonhard forces himself upright. I'm fine, he says, but without that barrier, he'd be dead. After confirming Leonhard isn't seriously hurt, the instructor's gaze goes sharp. Without that barrier absorbing the explosion, that hit would have been lethal. Who is this student, really? The instructor decides he needs to have a serious conversation with him. There are things he has to understand. Not even among the professors has he seen an ether bullet that massive. It feels like he's just stumbled onto something extraordinary. Meanwhile, he stares at his own hand, genuinely confused. Why was Leonhard's ether bullet so different from his? His was weak. There's no way they used the same spell. Could it be that the ether bullet he learned from the Liquidator Squad is fundamentally different from what they teach here? That was magic from 10 years in the future. Even so, he keeps a confused expression and asks the instructor if he used the wrong spell. The instructor sighs. The spell he used was undeniably an ether technique, no mistake there, but the quality of his ether projectile was different. What he just fired was not a standard ether bullet. According to the instructor, what he produced was a super compressed ether bullet. The entire class goes still. No one had ever heard of compressed magic. The instructor tries to replicate what he did, but his version is only a fraction of the size. It's a level of control that even professors struggle with. And yet, not only did he manage to produce it, he turned it into a full spell. No one in this academy can do what he just did. The students erupt in murmurs. That's the most powerful ether bullet they've ever seen. Was that the Eye of God's special admission student? If so, why not just put him directly in the magic program? The special admission makes no sense. The murmurs make him think. Every spell he learned at the Liquidator Brigade's training camp was like this. And honestly, even among them, he was seen as the one with the least magical talent, so he can't take the instructor's words too seriously. He speaks up. A professor with enough practice, shouldn't anyone be able to achieve something like that? At that, the instructor bursts out log. He's completely lost. Did he say something wrong? The laughter grows. He's a genuine genius. Making him train with a sword is a crime against his talent. That catches him off guard. Surely it's not that big of a deal. The instructor walks straight toward him. Transfer to the magic department, become my personal disciple. I'll personally vouch for you and teach you magic myself. Your magical talent far surpasses your talent with a sword, I'm certain of it. He refuses instantly. Hard pass. He's been told his whole life he has no gift for magic. The instructor completely ignores his refusal. Those people simply couldn't see the talent. You already have command of ether compression technique, and at your age, you've produced a super compressed ether bullet. By this academy's standards, you are a one-of-a-kind genius to pull something like that off. I don't know who told you that you had no magical talent, but it's clear they had no idea what they were talking about. Gray, are you really not thinking about switching to the magic course? His words ripple across the class like a wave of whispers. For a professor who almost never gives out praise to say something like that, it's extraordinary. The instructor raises his voice. If he walks away from magic, it will be the greatest loss this world has ever seen. He'd go so far as to call it a crime against magic itself. He laughs it off. Professor's exaggerating, he says. Then, something clicks. The instructor mentioned ether compression. He'd heard that term before. He drifts into a memory. Someone once told him he still knew nothing about ode, organic drive, the life force flowing through living beings. That's why casting magic with real meaning is so difficult. So you have to maintain the compression within your body and try to gather and use only the parts where ode mixes naturally. That's what their instructor used to say. The voice from his memory is still there, and now it almost sounds ridiculous. He coo. He snaps back to the present and asks the instructor, have you ever heard of? He goes blank, or what even is that? The reaction confirms it. This world hasn't discovered ode yet. If that's the case, then everything he learned with the Liquidator Squad is knowledge from the future. Knowledge this world hasn't uncovered yet. He has to be very careful about who he shares it with. One wrong step and everything could spiral out of control. The instructor looks at him with barely contained excitement. Will he be transferring to the magic course? He thanks him for the offer, but he likes the sword. He's going to have to decline. The instructor sighs, resigned. If he's already made up his mind, there's nothing he can do. But he makes one thing clear: if he ever changes his mind, he can come see him anytime. His door is always open. He rubs the back of his neck, a little uncomfortable. He genuinely appreciates it, Professor. The professor then tells him to return to his seat. From now on, if he looks around during class, he won't say a word. If he finds the lessons boring, he can leave whenever he wants. He won't care at all. According to him, these basic lessons are simply beneath his level. The students murmur, "This guy is unbelievable. Can't believe Professor Carlos is treating him like that. What a spectacle today turned out to be." As he walks back, Leonhard takes several steps forward, eyes locked on him. His heart is hammering. A deep crimson rose blooms somewhere inside his chest. The proudest person in this entire academy, Leonhard Apios, has just become a fan of Fandel Gray. A chill runs down his spine. Please don't tell him this guy is about to start following him around aft. After class, he finds a note from Professor Ariel asking him to come by her office today. Unexpected, she didn't say anything to him beforehand. His first suspicion: Professor Carlos put her up to it, trying to get Ariel to push him toward transferring to the magic department. He arrives early at Professor Ariel's office door. He hopes he's wrong. He knocks and notices the door isn't closed. A moment later, no answer, so he pushes it open and steps in, sorry for the intrusion. The next second, a sword comes flying straight at him. He barely registers it. His hand moves on pure instinct, with the blade drawn in an instant. A sharp twist of the arm sends the attacker's weapon spinning away. The whole movement is fluid and completely effortless. The girl looks genuinely stunned. She can't figure out how he reacted so fast. She doesn't know he didn't do it consciously. His body just moved on its own. But seriously, they're ambushing him the moment he walks through the door. His eyes go wide. This girl, she feels familiar, like he's seen her somewhere before. She turns slowly to face him. Blue hair, golden eyes, a striking face he can't look away from. From across the room, Ariel laughs. His reflexes are something quite extraordinary, she'll give him that. Looks like her judgment was right on the money. Bringing him to this academy was absolutely the correct call. The instructors nearby remain unconvinced. Bella, they say, she held back just now. Her movements were flawless, but losing her sword that easily doesn't add up. Her master told her to take it easy on him. At the mention of Bella's name, something tightens in his chest. So it really is her, Bella Albright. In his past life, she became a master witch and his magic teacher. Ariel has no patience for it. They're taking this way too seriously. If they can't even tell whether she held back, maybe they should admit it. The man laughs it off. It was just a joke, Ariel. No need to take it so seriously. He hands over the gold coins with a smirk. He watches them settle their bet right in front of him and slides his sword back into its sheath. How charming. Were they actually betting on him, he asks. Ariel doesn't deny it. They were. The bet was whether he could deflect Bella's surprise attack. Thanks to him, she made a tidy profit. She flicks her thumb and sends a gold coin spinning through the air toward him, his share, apparently. His irritation evaporates the moment he catches it. This one coin alone is enough to cover a full year of expenses. One of the instructors glances at his hand and speaks up, just as he said. In that brief exchange, it's clear he deliberately avoided using his dominant arm, as if protecting an arm that no longer functions properly. The second instructor nods. His right arm is severely injured. It's not a surface wound, it runs far deeper than that. No ordinary injury causes something like this. Something struck him or he pushed himself well past his limit. If left untreated, it could become permanent. He's stunned. With a single glance, they've already analyzed everything with perfect accuracy. This is why they teach at the World United Academy. They share a knowing laugh. If they couldn't see at least this much, they'd have no right to call themselves professors here. Though it seems Professor Ariel already noticed, even during the entrance exam. Ariel cuts in, clearly fed up with both of them. Since they both understand the situation, would they mind leaving? He's her student. She's not giving up on him, and they're both acting like they know more than they actually do. The man laughs again. They acknowledge the kid has potential, at least for now. Take good care of him, but there's something he needs to hear. If that injury doesn't heal, he hasn't reached the standard required for admission. Every step of the way here will be an uphill battle. Make sure he understands that. Those hard words land deep. He needs to find a way to heal this arm. Once they leave, only the three of them remain in the room. Ariel exhales. What an annoying pair, finally. Right then, let's talk about Magic and the girl beside him. Earlier today, Ariel heard what happened in Professor Carlos's class. He produced a super compressed ether bullet. Professor Carlos went to her office in person to request the transfer. She turned him down. Ariel sets her coffee cup down slowly. Nothing gets past her. She can tell he was made for the sword, not for magic. Then he notices her eyes and goes still. Her pupils have changed. They've transformed. He doesn't appear to have any natural talent for compression magic, she says, nor is there any indication that He takes a guilty sip of his tea. With one look from those eyes, she already knows. Lying to this woman is pointless. She's right. He admits it, he never trained in compression magic. Exactly what she expected. No one lies under those eyes. Still, she wants to know what method he used. She promises to keep it strictly to herself and offers compensation. And the reason she's so determined to understand it is the girl sitting beside them. She wants him to become her teacher. This compression magic is connected to her do. Don't tell him Professor Ariel called him here just because of Ariel confirms it. Bella may be a genius in magical theory, but when it comes to actual practice, she's still a long way from the. No matter what she does, she simply cannot master ether compression technique. And that's exactly why she can't produce super compressed ether. In his past life, he'd heard rumors about Bella Albright, so that was one reason. According to what Professor Ariel heard from Professor Carlos, when he uses super compression, he doesn't look at all like someone who's compressing ether. If there's a way to use super compressed ether without actually compressing it, then Bella won't have to be sent to Professor Brad. He sets his coffee down slowly, repeating the name quietly under his breath. He freezes instantly. She's talking about Professor Valian Bradley, the professor. Ariel senses it. She figured he'd know that name. That man is infamous. He has conducted countless experiments on humans, killing many in the process. He also caused a magical disaster that claimed the lives of tens of thousands. He is the worst magical criminal in history, and he still hasn't been caught. If Bella can't produce super compressed ether by the end of the year, she'll be sent to him for surgery. A deep sense of dread settles in his gut. Sending Bella there is no different from sending her to her death. That place is filled with unspeakable experiments. Exactly, the surgery is presented as a magical enhancement, but in reality, it's human experimentation. Bella's life is now in his hands. It hasn't been made public, but the rumors say many young girls have died from his experiments. Some have died, others were left broken beyond recovery. It's dangerous and terrifying. If Bella can't produce super compressed ether, she's only left with two options: expulsion or the experiments. Professor Ariel is seething. She would rather see Bella expelled than allow that man to lay a single hand on her. He doesn't rush to respond, he thinks it through carefully. The magic he knows is knowledge that doesn't yet exist in this era. Sharing it could alter the course of history. Bella's hands begin to tremble. She desperately needs his help, but she doesn't say a single word too. It's clear to him Bella is a key piece, a warrior of the future. He cannot let anything happen to her. The Liquidator is immensely powerful. Having one more fighter, and a great one at that, on their side will make all the difference. He's felt that desperation firsthand. He never wants to feel it again. If the future can be changed under his watch, the world's fighting force will be far greater, strong enough that the Liquidator can't wipe it out in a single blow. The thought makes him smile. If that's possible, then why not try? Maybe he really can change Bella's fate. That future the world calls hell, changing it can only be a good thing. The next instant, his mind is made up. He sets his coffee cup down on the table with a firm click. He turns to Bella with a smile. Don't worry, he'll teach her to use super compressed ether. With her talent, she'll pick it up. 3 hours later. In the arena, he pulls out a chalkboard and walks them through a ton of fundamental magical theory, all centered around super compressed ether. That's everything he knows. As agreed, don't tell anyone. This comes from his. Bella and Professor Ariel tell him not to worry. They signed a magic contract. Break it and death is what follows. No other way out. He gestures and looks at Bella. All right, after hearing all this, does she have any ideas? If so, she should share them. Professor Ariel seems completely overwhelmed. She knows magic, but her true strength lies in swordsmanship. Just trying to wrap her head around Ode left her stunned, and the magical knowledge he's just revealed goes far beyond even that. She can barely take it all in. Bella steps forward calmly. The magic he described is complex, but the logic is crystal clear. If she had to put it into words, it's like listening to a magic lecture from 100 years in the future. She looks at him with the most sincere expression. Just hearing his explanation alone could push magic forward by 100 years. He really is a magic genius. He feels a little embarrassed. In truth, it's knowledge from the future 10 years ahead taught to him by Bella herself. But in those 10 years, a lot changes. Magic advances at an incredible pace. It must look like 100 years of progress from here, Professor Ariel couldn't follow much of his explanation. She turns to Bella. There's a lot she can't verify on her own. Tell her, is what he said actually correct? Bella nods. The theory is highly plausible. It doesn't contradict any current magical theory, and the fastest way to verify it is to test it right here. That's why they came to the arena today. If everything Gray said is true, the spell Bella has should work. If the magic she casts with it proves the theory, what comes next will be beyond imagination. In an instant, Bella begins to conjure. This will be the first time she's ever released her magic at full power. He's stunned. This is Bella at full output. If he remembers right, her full power strike in the future could level an entire city. He can only wonder what her magic will look like 10 years. The next instant, an enormous magical formation materializes before them. At her current level, Bella seems unable to fully control the sheer magnitude of her power. He has a bad feeling about this, but Bella doesn't seem worried at all. She just wants to test her new magic. The incantation keeps flowing from her lips. The next second, a brilliant golden light engulfs his entire body. Then that golden radiance surges toward. He just stands there, completely floored. Bella, 10 years before her peak, already has power like this. No wonder she's one of the main fighters. That overwhelming force, that sheer intensity, if she hadn't managed to control the magic in time, he'd be dead. A torrent of flames had shot straight at his face, but just before impact, it veered away on its own. Bella had redirected it. Bella is ecstatic. She pulled it off on the very first try, and she even managed to control it. Under Bella's control, the flame slowly takes shape, a fire dragon. He watches in silent awe. Bella is truly a genius. Magic this complex, she grasped it instantly and executed it on the spot. With her at his side, he's certain that one day she'll be able to train an entire generation of magical talent to stand alongside them against the Liquidator. The fire magic erupts with force and extinguishes just as fast. Bella's ether has been depleted. Exhausted, Bella collapses to the ground, the classic sign of severe magical overexertion. He rushes toward her, frantic to check how she's doing. Bella is one of the greatest hopes for the future. Nothing can happen to... Ariel calls out from behind him. Relax, she's just fallen asleep. Don't get any weird ideas. He can't help but laugh. Despite himself, he doesn't bother to reply. As long as Bella's okay, that's the only thing that matters. Bella glances up at the flames still burning in the sky, and she still can't quite believe she created magic of that scale in such a short time. It's incredible. Half-conscious, Bella murmurs, it's not me that's incredible, it's the theory. She was able to create super-compressed ether so easily because of what Gray taught her. But she doesn't know that this very same theory was created by her own hands. He only told her about it first. Professor Ariel lets out a soft laugh. Now that she can produce super-compressed ether, she no longer needs the surgery. She'll personally notify Bradley and have him sell it. He's relieved they avoided that dangerous operation, but what moves him most is that Bella never once lost control of her magic. That alone says everything about just how terrifying her talent really is. He turns to Ariel with curiosity. Did she say control of her magic? Yes, control. Bradley's surgery can boost magical power, but the price is control. The exact mechanism is classified, but it appears to work by forcibly breaking the body's natural limiters. He strokes his chin as everything falls into place. He gets it now. In the previous timeline, the reason that Witch couldn't control her immense power, it was this surgery. With certainty now, Professor Ariel smiles. Thanks to him, Bella can now produce super-compressed ether, which means the terms of their contract have been fulfilled. Professor Ariel steps forward. Now it's her turn to hold up her end of the deal. First, his arm. She's going to cast a spell on him. She says nerve restoration magic. It can repair his arm. The next instant, a blue magical energy blooms from her palm. He can't help but watch. She presses that energy against the back of his hand and begins healing his injured right arm. A powerful wave of healing energy washes over him completely. It feels cool and gentle, like a soothing current flowing through him. The healing magic works fast. Professor Ariel looks up. How does it feel? He rotates his wrist. Honestly, it feels a lot better than before. What surprises him even more is that his wrist moves just as freely as it used to. A wave of deep gratitude washes over him. Thank you, Professor. Does this mean he's ready to continue at the academy? But he's also curious. If standard healing potions couldn't fix this, how did Ariel manage it so easily? Professor Ariel laughs. Don't compare her nerve restoration magic to a simple healing potion. Professor Ariel still looks somewhat concerned. Can he really move his arm the way he used to? Why not test it with a sword? He steps back and draws his sword slowly. He'll take her advice and put his arm to the test. He swings gently. Something feels off. He looks at his wrist carefully, then tries again. Swish, swish, he launches a series of slashes, each measured against the speed he had before. But the result still falls short. A cold sweat runs down his face. He lowers his sword and looks at Ariel. His arm, it still isn't as quick as it was before. Professor Ariel sighs and brings a hand to her forehead. As she suspected, she repaired the nerves, but her magic can't heal a wound of the soul. He frowns. A wound of the soul? Is the soul actually something physical? Ariel nods slowly. He heard correctly. The soul is Rei. Current magical theory hasn't confirmed it yet, but she believes it exists. Without question, because Ariel possesses an extraordinary ability. Her eyes can see souls. It's a secret she has never told anyone. And through them, she can see that his soul is slowly healing on its own. It will repair itself naturally. As long as he doesn't push his swordsmanship beyond its limits, his arm will regain its full flexibility. He doesn't fully understand it. So that means he can't train with his sword for a while. Ariel shakes her head. Not at all. Train at his normal level and it will. Deep down, Ariel has been holding back a question for a while. She wants to ask, what kind of swordsmanship could possibly leave a wound like that on someone's soul? He doesn't answer. She reads the atmosphere and shifts the subject. It turns out there's already a trailblazer in the field of soul-driven sword arts. Ariel's expression turns serious. That person is Amy White. Does he know her? The Amy White who, right up until her death in the future, was never once defeated. Ariel asks if he already knew her. His heart jumps. Yes, he knows her. Why is Ariel dropping the Sword Saint's name right now? At this point in time, the two of them shouldn't even know each other yet. The reason Ariel is so certain is simple. The way he wields a sword is identical to Amy's style. It's too similar to be a coincidence. But looking more carefully, there are subtle differences. Whoever taught him appears to be on an even higher level than Amy herself. Ariel seems genuinely confounded. In a few more years, Amy will reach the same level as her own master. Ariel's perceptiveness leaves him slightly unsettled. She caught even that. Sharp as she is, she could never guess that the one who taught him is Amy herself 10 years in the future. All he can tell her is that he trained at a dojo in his hometown. But can sword arts really damage the soul? Ariel shakes her head. Not at all. Ordinary sword arts can't damage the soul. For starters, they couldn't take down a target in a single strike, let alone fell every ghost and tree in the surrounding area along with it. A reference to the moment he took down the ogre general, which she already knew about. Ariel smiles. Of course she did. That's why that bet was never really a bet. Ariel saw what remained at the site. The scene was overwhelming. Not even the most advanced cutting magic could have produced that kind of result, so she suspected he carried a mysterious power within him and that he had been using it. Her conjecture was right. He asks if Professor Ariel can see it with her own. Ariel's pupils shift. She can see it, the power seeping through from behind a door, a chain door. He is completely shaken. Something is very wrong here. There is far more to Ariel than anyone has let on. Why did Ariel actually see the door within? She couldn't have reached that conclusion through conjecture alone. She knows something. Ariel raises a finger. With that said, she has seen a power similar to his before. She doesn't think it's exactly the same, but it resembles it. He asks immediately, what power? Is there someone else with something like his? Ariel responds with certainty. Yes, though she's not sure they're human. They call themselves the Liquidators. He loses his composure. What does Ariel know? Why is the Liquidator being mentioned in this era? Ariel doesn't ignore his reaction. He's heard of them, hasn't he? Apparently so. How does he know of them? She genuinely didn't expect them to be that well known, but considering that magical theory so far ahead of its time, she supposes it's not all that surprising. He feels a little uneasy. That knowledge truly does come from the future. None of it has been developed here yet. Ariel looks at him with curiosity. How much does he know about the Liquidators? Tell her everything. He hesitates, unsure of how much to share. Even if he told her the truth, she wouldn't believe him. All he can say is that the Liquidator is an extreme threat to humanity. With immense power, they have to stop it before it appears. And if that's not possible, they'll destroy it, whatever it takes. Ariel thinks it over for a moment, then nods. That's a firm stance, and she agrees that it's extremely dangerous. Even so, Valian Bradley seems to be pushing forward with his experiments. Either way, that throws him off. What does that madman have to do with any of this? Ariel's expression shifts into a cold smile. Everything, the connection is significant. According to Ariel, the Liquidator is the very entity Bradley is trying to summon. He goes completely still. The Liquidator was created by humans. Then, why was nothing said about this in the future? But thinking back to the previous timeline, the Academy behaved as if it already knew the Liquidator was coming. A possibility rises in his mind, and it sends a chill through him from head to toe. What if the Academy was involved in summoning the Liquidator from the very beginning? If his suspicion is correct, then the Academy is where it all started. Without thinking, he blurts out, Ariel, they have to stop this experiment. Ariel feels the same way, but unfortunately, the professor overseeing the experiment is at her same level. She has no authority to shut it down. She's already pressured her superiors to cancel it, but they refuse to leave. He wants to know who those superiors are, but Ariel can't tell him. She doesn't have the clearance. Without an order from above, no one can force the experiment to stop. He lets out a long internal sigh, not even a name. The Academy's leadership runs far deeper and is far more tangled than he ever imagined. Then it hits him, if they prove that man is a criminal, wouldn't that resolve everything? In the previous timeline, Valian's illegal experiments cost thousands of lives, and he knows exactly where they were carried out. He turns to Ariel with a sharp idea. He knows where Bradley conducts his illegal experiments. If they catch him red-handed, they might be able to bring all of this to an end, but Ariel shuts it down again. That won't work. Breaking into a professor's research facility without authorization is already a serious offense in itself. Without solid evidence, the only ones ending up behind bars would be them, unless he already has proof of Bradley's crimes. Her words leave him speechless. He has no concrete evidence, and without it, this matter can't move forward, and that's where that topic ends. Ariel moves on to asking about his power. She wants to know if he'd like to learn to control it. Those words hit him with force. Ariel really could help him control his power. She shakes her head. She can't teach him that herself, but there's a professor at this academy who specializes in dealing with unknown forces. His name is Heathcote. His heart leaps. Heathcote, the very man who personally trained the Sword Saint. Ariel clearly anticipated his reaction. She'll arrange for private training to begin tomorrow. With him, he wants to scream, this is incredible. Learning to control his power is exactly why he came to this academy. And now a path forward has opened up sooner than he ever expected. The next day, he begins special training under the guidance of a legendary master. Standing before him is Heathcote himself, leading a private session. But to his surprise, the training is just running. He has no idea what Heathcote is trying to teach him, but whatever he does or says, he'll follow without question. Suddenly, Heathcote turns his head. Your mind is wandering. I can feel your focus slipping. If you have time to think, you have time to run faster. Listen carefully. The power of the soul only awakens when you've exhausted every last drop of your physical strength. As long as even a trace of energy remains in you, we will not touch that sword. He gets the gist of it, understood, and even if he didn't, he'd follow the instruction anyway. This man is one of the greatest in the world, and so begins a brutal week of training under his supervision. After training wraps up, he visits Ariel. Giasefa went with Heathcote. Honestly, there isn't much to report, it was almost all running. That said, every day his body feels stronger. They only worked with the sword right at the very end. Ariel laughs, sounds exactly like that old man. A moment later, someone walks in and interrupts them. They hand Ariel a letter. He's not sure if he's imagining it, but Ariel's hands are trembling. Then her expression becomes pure fury. He steps forward. What's wrong? What does it? When he sees what the letter says, his expression mirrors hers exactly. The letter claims that while Bella produced super-compressed ether, after inspection it is not considered genuine compression. Signed by Valian Brad, he is furious. He can't contain it. This man has lost his mind. Ariel tells him to calm down. It's clear Bradley already made up his mind. He wants Bella on that table whether it's necessary or not. Then she simply says there's a contract in place. Refusing is not an option unless Bradley himself nullifies it. Bella's only options are withdrawing from the academy or submitting to the surgery. The news leaves him ice cold. If Bella goes through with that operation, she's finished. The next instant, Ariel slams her hand on the table. Gray, she needs his help. She wants to know from him where Bradley's laboratory is. If Ariel exposes his crimes, the contract will be automatically void. A slight smile crosses his face. Didn't she say earlier that going in without evidence is too dangerous? What changed? Ariel made this decision because she believes him. If they find that place, the evidence will be right there. Maybe Ariel trusted him from the very beginning. Her eyes were already telling her the truth. She can say with certainty that everything he's ever said has been true. It just took her this long to accept it. She should have done so from the start. From now on, she trusts him a little more. He doesn't lie. Ariel nods, then lead the way. Now, let's stand up together and bring everything he has done into the light. His laboratory is in the mountains near the village of Toru. Ariel knows the mountain. She never would have thought he'd be hiding somewhere like that. She knows he conducts a legal experiment at an authorized facility. Ariel nods. It's the perfect cover for a laboratory. On top of that, no one at the academy pokes around in another professor's lab. As long as they have the evidence, they can't be accused of trespassing. At that moment, Bella pushes the door open and steps in. She looks very distressed. Professor Gray, she received this letter today. Ariel steps forward and takes the letter from her hand. Don't worry, Gray and I will handle it. Bella seems to sense what Ariel has in mind. Professor, she's going to face them alone for her sake. Ariel stops mid-step. The corner of her mouth lifts ever so slightly. She turns toward Bella with a look. Bella is worried and turns to him. Wait, he says, I'm going with them. Bella says the same. She's putting her life on the line. She has to go. Professor Ariel looks pained. The enemy they'd be facing is a madman who has carried out dangerous human experiments again and again. If he gets his hands on either of them, there's no telling what he'll do. She can't allow them to get involved in this. He's not okay with that. Going alone is far more dangerous. If he uses the same power he used against the Ogre General, he can be a real asset. And if he disappears from here, he'll be expelled as the Eye of God candidate. So he has more than enough reason to be there. At the very least, let them have a say in their own fate. They won't slow her down, they'll only make her stronger. Ariel looks at both of them and falls silent. Then she lets out a long, deep sigh. It seems like even if she said no, they'd follow anyway. Fine, she'll allow it, but with one condition: no matter what happens, their safety comes first. Both of them answer at the same time. Understood, we already knew, and so they head to the mountain, and so they head to the mountain. They arrive at a building embedded into the mountainside. He stares at it. Is illegal experimentation really happening inside there? He can't believe it. Ariel, let's go in and find the evidence. I'm certain, he adds, it's right here. Both of them look him in the eyes with sharp, focused gazes. If he says so, then Bella should be in a magic association meeting right now, so she's not here, but the entrance may have traps. They'll go in through the door on the... Now it's Ariel's time to shine. Once they're inside, find the evidence fast. Bella speaks up again. Professor, is he really sure about doing all of this for her? Is it really worth it? He cuts in. Before Ariel can answer, she said that wrong, stopping his experiments is genuinely for the good of this world, not just for her. Does she understand? A moment later, at Ariel's signal, they launch into action. His speed surpasses theirs. He takes the lead. At the same time, fire magic concentrates in Ariel's hand. With a wide sweeping motion, a torrent of flames obliterates the door. Ariel's magic is terrifyingly powerful. A single burst causes this much destruction, he's left a little. Taken aback, weren't they supposed to enter quietly? Why make such a scene? After blowing a hole through the wall, they get ready to step inside. But the moment he sees what's inside, he freezes. Upon entering the laboratory, there are bodies everywhere. All of them are Bradley's test subjects. Ariel had planned to carefully search for evidence, but all they have to do is look around. Evidence is everywhere. Then they notice that something lies. Just ahead, not far away, there's something that resembles a ritual altar. Bella looks shaken. What do they do now? Stick to the plan and gather evidence or search for survivors? He turns to her. They can't stay long. If they take too much time, Valian could return. The words have barely left his mouth when he hears an unfamiliar voice. A figure slowly approaches from behind. It was calling his name. Ariel looks at the figure and asks calmly, "How did the meeting go, Valian?" The one approaching them is none other than the infamous experimenter himself, Professor Valian Brad. He instantly drops into a combat stance. He never imagined Bradley would be here. Bradley speaks calmly. He sent a double to the meeting in his place. He has important experiments running here. Leaving was never an option. Ariel's eyes narrow. And what exactly does this experiment consist of? Apparently, Bradley had just acquired a new group of test subjects and wanted to run the experiments while they were still fresh. But the plan has changed. Their intrusion requires a minor adjustment. Even Ariel looks unsettled. The killing intent radiating from him is overwhelming. They've seen what they were never meant to see. Naturally, he intends to silence them. Bradley's eyes land on them. He doesn't know how they found this place, but he's certain of one thing. They didn't tell anyone they were coming. If all three of them disappear, no one will accuse him. Bella looks like she's on the verge of complete paralysis. Ariel's voice is ice cold. Don't tell him he's planning to use them as guinea pigs. Bradley just lets out a quiet little laugh. No need for the dramatics. Your sacrifices will push the limits of magic even further. Since he can't let them leave alive, he'll make sure every part of them is put to good use. The next instant, an enormous fireball shoots straight at Brad. The sudden attack catches him a little off guard. Boom, the fireball explodes with a deafening roar. Ariel glances sideways at Bella. She didn't expect her to attack without a moment's hesitation. Bella's expression is stone cold. She burns with hatred toward Bradley. She shows no mercy, none whatsoever. But it wasn't what they hoped for. Bella's attack didn't leave a single scratch on him. Bradley smiles as if this is all some kind of game. The eye of God, Ariel still as sharp as ever. And a special admissions student with real talent? This is incredible, what a surprise. He'll have to be more careful after all. And Bella, there's another eye of God candidate standing right in front of him. Your little tricks don't impress me. A student who dares to attack her own professor. What truly unforgivable insolence. Bella scoffs. She'd rather be the one to finish him herself. What a shame she missed her chance to end him. Ariel orders them to fall back. The situation is spiraling out of control, but they have the evidence they need. The academy will handle the rest. They try to leave, but Bradley has other plans. In an instant, he launches dark magic directly against them. At the last second, Ariel raises her golden barrier. She tells Bella to run. She'll handle this alone, but Valian cuts her off. Don't bother, this is one of his finest creations, the gluttony flare. This spell devours defensive magic and converts it into its own power. Both forces collide head-on. Ariel's barrier is already beginning to crack. In theory, this spell is unstoppable. Its only drawback is that casting it consumes 1 unit of rare material. Before long, Ariel's golden barrier is on the verge of being swallowed whole. Then her eyes ignite with a flash of brilliance. From behind the golden magical formation, another one appears. This one is blue, a second layer of defense, but the gluttony flare doesn't even flinch. It slams into the new barrier without hesitation. The crack spread across Ariel's barrier once again. She quickly orders Bella to hand over the memory satchel of the spell records. Ariel has already recorded everything that happened here. The moment Heathcote sees it, he'll know what to do. But Bella doesn't move. Instead, she drives her staff into the ground. A new defensive formation expands outward from her in a circle. This time, Ariel loses it. What is she doing? She told her to escape. There's no way Bella can leave Ariel alone. She saw the barrier breaking and she's here to reinforce it. Ariel is left speechless. They agreed that if anything went wrong, she would put her own life first. Valian's magic is not normal, no defense can stop it. She'll buy them time, go. Words like weapons leave her mouth. Her barrier is reinforced in an instant. Ariel is horrified, 2 minutes, that's all it bought them. This magic is deeply wrong. Bella, on the other hand, seems completely calm. True, the professor's barrier has fallen, but it doesn't matter. The gluttony flames surge forward and crash against Bella's formation. To Bella, this spell is not all that powerful. It just requires a slightly different approach to counter it. Valian is stunned. Impossible, the theory to stop the gluttony flare is known only to them. How does she know it? Bella laughs under her breath. Someone taught her a new theory recently, and with it, any spell feels easy. The corner of Valian's mouth twitches. She broke his dark magic with just that, Theo. He refuses to believe it. Tell him who the traitor is. Give him a name and he'll make sure their death is quick. A quiet laugh. She wants to know who taught me. That's a secret. She's not telling him anything. Surprisingly, there's something almost endearing about this side of Bella. The next moment, his expression hardens. He warns Bella to stay on guard. Something about this attack doesn't sit right with him. Valian reaches into his robe and pulls out a red stone. Then he crushes it with his hand. If they want to die too, then they can. Watch themselves turn to ash. A dozen skeletons erupt from the shattered stone. They twist and coil together like a thick knotted rope. Then they fuse into a massive, terrifying set of jaws and lunge straight toward them. He tells her to be careful. She says she can hold. But beneath that composure, Bella is starting to panic. Her magic is running out. Valian saw it coming. At her current reserves, Bella has maybe 1 minute left. She's already desperate. Professor, attack. She'll hold the defense. At those words, a blue light flickers in Ariel's eyes. Her eye of God searches for a weakness in Valian's magic. If she finds one, she can project her power straight through the barrier. She aims. Slowly, a thin thread of electricity trails just beyond the barrier. The moment he senses it, she doesn't hold back. A bolt of lightning races through his entire body. With a fierce cry, every arc of lightning launches itself against the gluttony flare. The lightning is blindingly fast and strikes with devastating force. But it fails to break through the counter. The moment her lightning touches the dark magic, it begins to be devoured all the way until the last bolt is consumed, leaving nothing behind. He lets out a cold snort. Counterattacking me, don't make him laugh. She can't even touch him. Ariel's expression darkens. She didn't expect the absorption power of this spell to be this brutal. If he remembers correctly, Ariel's offensive magic is the weakest among the faculty. And since the gluttony flare feeds on fire, Valian grows stronger with every attack it absorbs. Bella finally hits her limit. Her magic is almost gone. What do? He looks closely, and Ariel, her hands, her whole body trembling, just staying on her feet is costing everything she has. Ariel has no options left. That's why she told them to leave. They didn't listen. They all underestimated him. Now everyone is in danger. Then he steps forward. He lets out a quiet laugh. Leave this to me, you two rest. It's time to call in the big guns. Stand back. Ariel and Bella look at him in disbelief. They couldn't stop him. Does he really think he can? She wants to know what he's planning. His sword can't even reach Bradley from here. Don't worry, he says. Just sit back and watch him work. Something flickers in Ariel's eyes. She's already figured it out. Are you sure? Using that power again could kill you. And even if you survive, your arm may never fully recover. He lets a slight smile spread across his face. Better one of us dies than all three. On Valian's side, the glow of the gluttony flare blocks his view of what's happening inside. He sees a red light expanding within. Then he sees a young man swinging a sword through the air, but the angle is strange, reversed. It's simple. Valian's head has already been cut clean off. A single strike, that's all it took. The force behind that slash was something Valian could never have blocked. His expression is serious. Someone like you should have died a long time ago. The thing that now rises before them is a headless body. Bella can't believe what she just witnessed. That single strike shattered everything she thought she knew. With a dull thud, Valian and his head hit the floor at the same time. Even Ariel stands there with wide eyes. She'd reviewed the battle against the ogre general, but seeing it in person is something else entirely. If they told anyone about this, no one would believe them. Then Bella notices pieces of stone falling from above. The entire ceiling is beginning to collapse. That strike, its shockwave reached all the way up. Then, between the falling debris, a pair of light and steady steps move forward. With each step, ripples expand across the floor. Countless rays of pink magic shoot up from the ground and freeze every falling stone in place. Ariel processes what just happened. Compared to what Gray just did, Valian's magic was nothing. She looks at him. How is his body holding up? That strike was devastating. With a clatter, the sword slips from his hand and drops to the floor. He doesn't know what's happening. His dominant hand throbs with pain and numbness begins spreading slowly. He picks the sword back up. Don't worry so much. He can still move. Ariel lets out a small laugh. It's a noticeable improvement over before. His training is paying off. She has to admit it. Back in the village, using this power left him out of commission for days. When he woke up, he couldn't move his arm at all. Now it just hurts. That's progress. 1 week of training with the Sword Saint was worth every single second. He doesn't notice that Ariel's gaze has quietly drifted to his right hand. She just used her eye of God to examine his right side, the internal damage. There it is again. She steps closer and speaks in a low voice. They're alive because of him. She's sorry for letting him use that power again. He tells her not to worry, it was his call to stop Valian. Even so, Ariel insists on thanking him, but what she says next catches him off guard. She tells him not to use that power again, not for a long time. Her voice takes on an almost pleading tone. Please trust what her eye of God is telling her. If he forces it any further, the damage will become permanent. He goes completely still for a moment, then he nods slowly, understood. At that moment, Bella speaks from behind him. She wants to know if what just happened was magic because she didn't detect any fluctuation at all. Honestly, calling it magic doesn't even feel accurate to him. So what exactly does he use? Ariel cuts in before he can answer. Sorry, but he has to leave it at that. And don't tell anyone anything about what they've seen. Bella's curiosity overwhelms her and she keeps pressing for answers. Ariel sighs. Magic concentrates in her hand. Listen. She looks Bella dead in the eyes. If she can't accept that, she'll have to erase her memory. She'll give her a choice: memory wipe or magic contract. Bella almost jumps out of her skin. There is absolutely no way she's letting anyone touch her memories. She chooses the magic contract, and he conjures a magic contract and lets it float before Bella. She signs it without a moment's hesitation. The matter is settled. She won't ask again. Ariel asks what they should do next. He tells her that as much as the experiments concern him, their top priority right now is helping these people. They look almost lifeless, but they haven't died. They've been put into a magical trance. He snaps his fingers. They're not in immediate danger, but as a precaution, they should bring them to the Academy's infirmary. A sphere of golden light appears before them. It expands, enveloping every single test subject in the room. At the very least, this will keep them safe from further harm with the test. Subjects secured, Ariel suggests they press on. She surveys the room again, even she has trouble taking it all in. Everywhere they look, there are illegal experiments, almost all of them involving human sacrifice, whether to produce magical catalysts or to artificially expand human magical capacity. Each one is more brutal than the last. He finds no experiments directly tied to the liquidators. Could something like that be happening somewhere else? Something else strikes him as strange. In his past life, this place was connected to an event that killed tens of thousands. How could producing a magical catalyst cause a disaster on that scale? Then it hits him, his eyes go wide. In his past life, what killed all those people was a miasma that rose from beneath the ground. That revelation makes him call Ariel and Bella over immediately. Bella looks at him. Puzzled, did he figure something out? She can see he's worried. So is he. He thinks there might be something beneath them, and if it's connected to the liquidators, he doesn't even want to think about it. He shares his suspicion with Ariel that there could be a passage or hidden space underground. Ariel looks skeptical. Underground? Who runs experiments down there? Her eye of God sweeps across every crack and joint in the floor, but she doesn't find anything. No hidden passage. That means his assumption was wrong. Just as she's about to tell him what she found, she freezes completely. She tells them not to move, then moves forward quickly on her own. She crouches and examines the floor up close. Her eye of God activates again, faint, but she can sense traces of short-range teleportation magic. This might be a space only accessible through teleporta. Tian, based on the residue, the distance is around 300 meters. There's something down there. He asks if she can take them down 300 meters. She says yes, she has her own short-range teleportation portal. She snaps her fingers. Let's see what's down there. A magical formation appears before them. If there were nothing below, the portal would open straight into solid ground. The gate in Ariel's formation opens slowly, and what they see on the other side stops all three of them cold. Stretching before them is a space filled with structures, small buildings of various sizes. Ariel is stunned. Nobody, not even she, would have expected a space this vast to exist beneath this building. At the same time, Bella senses something is wrong. Enormous quantities of ether energy are flowing in from every direction, and the most powerful source is coming from the very center. She points to the structure at the center of it all, surrounded by several enormous pillars. She's shaken. It's not just ether, there's something else, a different power, stronger than anything she's ever felt. Upon hearing that, he thinks he already knows what it is. It could be this power. Ariel cuts him off. You sense it too, don't? The power inside that structure belongs to the liquidators. They step inside, there's a door ahead. All three of them suspect the same thing. The source of that power is behind this door. Ariel carefully examines the surroundings. The power is undeniable, but there's no trace of any liquidator. She tests the door. It opens without resistance. She realizes that the door itself holds no power at all. It's purely ceremonial, placed here as a symbol, nothing more, so the source of the power lies. That power isn't the door, it's somewhere else in this room. Ariel's gaze lands on a nearby purple container. She suspects all the power is concentrated in this magical device. Then she does something that catches us completely off guard. He freezes. Has she lost her mind? Is she trying to summon a liquidator? Bella agrees it's too dangerous. They have to stop her. Ariel remains completely unfazed. Nobody move. Her prediction says this device cannot summon a liquidator. Trust her. A sound is heard. Tearing, the door begins to split open down the middle. The crack widens more and more, and on the other side there is nothing but absolute darkness. Bella and he are paralyzed. The space is tearing open. What has she done? With Ariel's intervention, a thin thread of energy is extracted from within. She studies that dark energy without blinking. There's no mistake. This is the power of the liquidators. Ariel had already figured out what this device actually does. Rather than summoning a liquidator, it simply opens a small rift toward wherever the liquidators exist and channels the energy that seeps through. At the center of the room, the dark energy rises and floats in the air. The core used to crystallize that energy was almost certainly human life. Roughly 10 souls appear to have been consumed, but the shaping process likely cost far more. This is what Ariel sees through her eye of God. Her belief is that most of the people they saw upstairs were taken as raw material for this. She's puzzled. Why go through all of this just to gather power? What are they planning to do with it? Ariel asks Bella to recall the battle where Valian used that black flame. Didn't something about it seem unusual? That flame came from the red crystal, and that crystal is essentially what these devices produce once the process is complete. But the catalyst doesn't have to become fire. If they mass produce it, who knows what it could be used for? Meanwhile, the gap in the door begins to slowly close. After hearing all of this, he starts to think that maybe Valian never actually wanted to summon a liquidator in the first place. He can't say whether he tried and failed or simply chose not to, but from what it looks like, the spatial access magical devices have been pushed to their absolute limit. It's possible these devices have already given everything they had. Ariel looks around, studying the devices, her eyes light up. This is priceless. She's never seen spatial distortion magic this precise or this powerful. Ariel already suspected as much. As he said, building even one of these would cost an entire nation's budget, but having 8, only one organization comes to mind. Bella assumes it's the Discal Empire. She's wrong. They may be the largest nation in the world, but they don't have the magical research capacity to build even one of these. Then, who in the world has the resources to pull something like this off? Yes, Ariel's answer is this. There must be an organization whose magical research capabilities surpass even the Empire's. He speaks quietly. She's talking about the World United Academy, isn't she? He can't think of anyone else. When he says it, something presses down on Bella's chest. It can't be the World United Academy. Ariel confirms it. Gray is right. No other research institution could back something of this scale and budget. Turning back to it, it becomes harder and harder to deny. The World United Academy is involved in the liquidator situation. Bella finally processes it. Wait, she's saying the Academy is behind all of this, but the World United Academy is supposed to protect the world. Ariel sighs, she's too naive. She doesn't understand why she refuses to see it, but no other organization could do this. Does she understand now? But he sees it differently. This doesn't mean the entire Academy is their enemy. The majority are still on their side. At least in the world before his rebirth, the Academy's strongest fighters were on the front lines. They didn't hide behind the others, they stood at the forefront of the fight against the liquidators. Even surpassing the liquidator squad, they protected civilians until the very end. Having witnessed that future, he refuses to believe the Academy is the enemy of humanity. Ariel nods as he said the majority of people in the Academy probably act in humanity's interest. They would never endorse experiments that waste lives, but the Academy has countless researchers, each with their own beliefs and opinions. They're not unified in thought and they're not unified in method. And on top of that, there are facilities like this one, almost no one knows the full picture. Whoever is backing Valian has considerable support. There's no way he could have organized all of this on his own authority. She frowns, so even now they can't fully trust the Academy. That puts them in a difficult position. A distant look settles in Ariel's eyes. She's observed this Academy from the inside for decades. Of one thing she's certain, it is not an organization that can be trusted blindly. The majority genuinely believe they're working for the benefit of humanity. Even the architect of this plan has probably convinced themselves of the same, but the truth remains buried in the dark beyond their reach. He asks Ariel to sweep the area and see if anything can lead them to whoever is pulling the strings. Unfortunately, there are no communication devices anywhere in this facility. Not even a trace of the creator's magical residue remains on any of them. With everything covered up this thoroughly, finding a lead is going to be nearly impossible. And there's something else, but before Ariel can finish, a massive explosion erupts behind Bella. He's caught completely off guard. What was that? But they're not coming after them, they're destroying the facility itself. He understands in an instant. They had planted devices to destroy the evidence. They didn't activate them immediately because they wanted to lure any intruders in first, then trigger them and take everyone out along with the evidence. He watches as Ariel pieces it all together like a detective, then she snaps. Now is not the time to analyze. They need to leave, now. She grits her teeth. How impatient, these are nothing but magical explosives. She strikes the floor with her staff. A professor of the World United Academy is not going to be stopped by something like this. As she speaks, a golden light blooms across the floor. If she lets this kill her, she has no right to call herself a professor. The golden light wraps around all three of them and grows brighter and brighter. With a sharp jolt, they vanish from the sight, and all 8 magical devices vanish with them. 3 seconds later, they're on the grass in front of the building. Ariel has teleported them along with the survivors from upstairs to the open area outside. He glances at the survivors. They made it out safely just like the 3 of them, though it's clear they've been through a great deal. Bella lets out a long, shaky breath. She genuinely thought it was the end for her. He has to admit he agrees that was way too close. Ariel laughs quietly. She'll get used to it. There were more people than she expected, so the teleportation formation slowed down a little, but it was worth it. They have all 8 magical devices. Once they present them to the Academy, they can no longer be ignored. In the blink of an eye, they're back inside the Academy. The man seated across from them speaks. The survivors they brought back are receiving treatment in the Academy's infirmary. Ojumo Alexander, director of the World United Academy, thanks to them, Valian's illegal experiments have been stopped. He picks up a report about the magical engines sitting on his desk. Each one is worth more than an entire nation's budget. Ariel SH shows her concern. 8 devices in total. There's no way Valian gathered firepower like this on his own. How did he get them? Is someone backing him? Alexander sets the report down slowly. They're stolen goods during transport. The convoy of 78 was assassinated. All 3 of them are. Stunned, they had no idea this was connected to a theft. Ariel's expression hardens. Is he referring to the incident from 15 years ago, Alex? Ander nods. That's right, these engines were among the confiscated cargo, and the ones responsible were the bloodthirsty. Surely he's heard the name. He has too, the largest criminal organization in the world, a parasite on humanity. No matter how many times they're crushed, they always come back. Something about Bella's silence makes him look at her. Bella, usually so composed, she wears an expression he's seen before. Pure rage. They killed my parents. Alexander looks pained. That's exactly what makes them so dangerous. They've been dismantled hundreds of times and always rise again. Nobody knows where they hide. Nobody knows who leads them. They're attributed with over 70% of all crime-related deaths. He wouldn't be surprised if some have already infiltrated this academy. The problem is they can't identify them, and even if they could, the academy wouldn't act. He asks, what does he mean? If there are criminals in the academy, why aren't they rooted out? Alexander takes over. That's just how the academy works. Anyone with talent can grow stronger here, regardless of lineage, race, or background. That's the philosophy. Even if you're a criminal, it doesn't matter. Bella finds this absurd. If there are criminals here, measures should be taken against them. That much is obvious. Alexander agrees. Unfortunately, those above him don't see it that way. Bella is confused. But isn't he the director? Doesn't that make him one of those above? Alexander looks uncomfortable. He's just a subordinate. Calling him one of those above is a joke. He's the face of this institution in name only. His actual authority is laughable. Want to know who really controls everything? Bella and he feel it at the same time. They need to know who's behind all of this, but Alexander isn't going to tell them. Not yet. Keep getting stronger. The more power they have, the more they'll be allowed to know. When they have the strength needed, they'll be able to reach the heart of this academy, and the truth they're searching for will finally come to light. He can't give names, but he offers a clue. There's a student in the upper years whose influence shapes the entire direction of this academy, including that policy of admitting criminals. It was his decision. It finally clicks. So if they become stronger than him, they can change the academy. Alexander doesn't say more than he needs to. In this academy, strength is everything. Bella and he clench their fists at the same time. This is their conviction. They will get stronger. Alexander watches them in silence. To him, this is still a mystery waiting to be solved. There's no way Ariel got involved in opposing Valian in any conventional sense, which means one of them must be the one pulling the strings, and yet Ariel's eye of God remains as sharp as ever. Even Alexander can't stop a sense of anticipation from stirring within him. He finds himself wanting to see what kind of strength Ariel is building. After leaving Alexander's office, he walks alone through the hallway. He looks down at the black mark on his hand. In this academy, strength is everything. If they want to bring down the liquidators or unmask whoever is pulling strings from the shadows, first they must focus on one thing: getting stronger. Then a presence interrupts his thoughts. He looks up just in time to see a kick coming straight for his face. He blocks it, but the force sends him skidding back instantly. The pow behind that kick is no joke. He blocked the hit but couldn't stop himself from being pushed back. Whoever this is, they attack with force, but more than anything, he wants to know why. If there's no good reason for this, he'll take it as a challenge. And if that's what it is, they're not going to like how he responds. But then they speak and say he has no right to be in this hallway. Their reasoning is weak and pathetic. Good Lord, special admission students like him don't belong here. He slowly draws his sword. Another person who hates special admission students, though this is the first time one has ambushed him in a hallway. The man says he'd love to oblige, but then someone appears. He turns and sees Professor Ariel walking slowly toward him. He watches with some confusion. He's not sure what this guy's problem is, but by the time she arrives, her thoughts are racing. I'm sorry, security is very strict. I can't get any closer. But she'll send someone as soon as possible. Her inner moan. Oleg sounds like she's reporting to someone. Who is that person? Only she knows. Ariel arrives and asks him what happened. Honestly, it still feels strange. A student kicked him out of nowhere and said, "Eye of God, special admission students like him have no right to walk around the academy." Professor Ariel looks around carefully. No drawn weapons, no ongoing argument, and he's not hurt. That means she has no grounds to investigate what just happened. She raises a hand and points in the direction the man went. Then why didn't he go after him and make him see stars? That catches him off guard. They're classmates. Is it really necessary to take things that far? Ariel sighs. As his professor, she can't officially encourage that, but if something were to happen nearby, it could be that she simply didn't notice. The hint lands with the same weight as Ariel's usual style. He thinks it over and decides to let it go. He doesn't want to stir up too much trouble, and something Ariel doesn't know and wants a straight answer to. Are Eye of God's special admission students really received this badly? Has it? There's been mockery before, but this is the first time it's come to blows after hearing that. Ariel repeats it quietly, so they've really been mocking him, so it is. Her expression shifts, she almost looks hurt. I'm truly sorry, I wish I had more influence here. He tells Ariel not to worry, without her, he never would have made it through the academy's doors at all. And he and the others will prove that the Eye of God program was no mistake. After all, Professor, her eye for talent is anything but ordinary. He thinks back to the people from his past life. Each and every one of them became a key fighter against the Liquidator. Ariel pauses for a moment after hearing his words, then smiles warmly and nods. Thank you for your support. But Ariel doesn't want him acting as though the fault lies with others. Of all the students in the Eye of God group, he's the one she has the most hope for. Amy, Rick, Jakob, just like the special admission students who came before, all of them will become top-tier talents. But the first time she truly believed someone could exceed the limits of what a human can be was when she saw him. He never expected Ariel to think of him that way, placing him on the level of those future powerhouses. But that kind of thinking is a weakness. Whoever is pulling the strings behind the scenes may not have given up on summoning the Liquidator. He can not lower his guard. That thing can end any strong fighter with a single hit. He came to this timeline to make absolutely certain he can defeat it and take the fate of this world into his own hands. 3 days pass in the blink of an eye. Today's class is a live combat exercise for the Sword Arts course. The instructor will pair students by name. Whoever is matched will fight each other as of today. Since it's a live combat exercise, he pays full attention. He has to take this class seriously. If he screws this up, people will start looking down on every single student admitted through the Eye of God. At the very minimum, he has to show he can hold his own against regular students. And right on cue, because of course something ridiculous happens, his old rival shows up again. The instructor writes 2 names on the board, Gray and Leon Hart. Leon Hart is the top student of the Sword Arts course. In other words, the strongest first year. The instructor speaks calmly. He's tried to pair students of similar strength, so don't hold back. Treat it as real combat. Inside, he's cursing repeatedly. Similar strength? He barely made it into the academy through special admission. How is he supposed to be paired with the top student? On top of that, Leonhard has never liked Eye of God students. After what happened last time, he's probably been itching to knock him around. Just my Lou, then Leonhard moves from behind him. He watches to see what he's up to, but to his surprise, Leonhard walks right up to him with a big smile. Hey, good to meet you properly. His expression shifts. He genuinely has no idea what's going on with this guy. He seems very enthusiastic, looks like they've been paired. He's genuinely thrilled about this. In his wildest dreams, he never imagined he'd actually cross swords with Gray. Being number 1 in the class was absolutely worth it. Leonhard has trained harder than anyone, so please bear witness to his real swordsmanship. Gray, those words make his expression harden. Just as he suspected, this guy wants payback. That smile of his is very suspicious. There's no question he's absolutely delighted to finally have a legitimate reason to fight him. At the instructor's signal, the class splits into 2 teams and lines up in the center of the courtyard. Duels break out immediately. Everyone is fighting with everything they have. This is their moment to shine and nobody is letting it slip by. At the same time, Leonhard moves instantly. He says with a gleam in his eyes, Gray had better be careful. Their swords crash together in an instant. He's genuinely surprised. Leonhard truly deserves to be the top student of the Sword Arts course. His attacks aren't perfect, but they come terrifyingly close. The next instant, a slash from Leonhard sends him flying. His sword and body move in perfect harmony, flowing like water. He's achieved the unity of man and sword, that state where fighter and blade become one. Every strike is razor sharp, he really is. Something else, this is incredible, Gray, says Leonhard. He can't believe he didn't come through the regular exam. When the other students see it, they stop their own duels one by one. They can't believe what they're seeing. A special admission student going toe-to-toe with Leonhard. Feeling the weight of his strikes, he goes quiet. Leonhard is a genius. Every blow he throws leaves no opening at all. Leonhard knows he's strong too. Honestly, that irritates him a little. If Leonhard has time to make small talk, he should use it to fight. Slash after slash, their attacks cut through the air as they exchange dozens of blows. Within seconds, both of them are moving at incredible speed, but it's clear he's on the losing end. No matter how fast he goes, he can't shake Leonhard. Even so, it's roughly what he expected. He thought Leonhard would drop him instantly, so lasting this long is already beyond his predictions. Even using both arms, he still can't match his raw power. Leonhard's swordsmanship is overwhelming. It's on another level entirely. His technique is flawless and textbook perfect, his disciplined style polished to a terrifying degree. Even with the experience of his past life and the master's teachings behind him, he has no confidence he could defeat Leonhard right now. Leonhard closes the distance between them in an instant. He lowers his blade and the weight of Leonhard's sword hits him like a wall. His strength is draining fast. Leonhard laughs. He could keep this up all day. If he hadn't gone through special training with the Sword Saint, he would have hit the ground a long time ago. But why isn't Leonhard even breaking a sweat? Does fighting him really feel this easy? His strength is almost gone. He needs to end this fight now, then. The instructor's words flash through his mind like lightning. Treat this duel as... He weighs those words carefully, and in that instant an answer comes to him. A response. Leonhard's blade swings back toward him. As the strike comes in, he ducks and slides under the attack, then he twists his hand slightly. Leonhard's eyes go wide. He didn't see that coming at all. Thud, he kicks him directly in the ankle. To his surprise, the kick sends Leonhard airborne. While he's off balance, this is his moment to counter. Leonhard finally realizes what's happening. It seems Gray is treating this duel as an actual fight to the death, but Leonhard knows he cannot lose. The next instant, his sword stops at Leon's throat, and he gains nothing from it because Leonhard's blade is also at his throat. The distance between them is measured down to the millimeter. An inch closer and they'd both be dead. He reaches a hand out to Leonhard to help him up and calls it a draw. Leonhard doesn't buy that it's that simple. In that final instant, Leonhard only swung his sword, but he was different. If he had wanted to, he could have driven the blade straight through his heart. This is just a simulation, says Leonhard. That's why he aimed for the throat and not the heart. Isn't that right? He lets out a short laugh. Even with all the protective enchantments, pointing a sword at someone's heart in a practice duel is a little much, don't you think? Leon seems to settle. Then he lost this duel. Gray, you are truly something else. He turns and walks away smiling. Thanks to him, he finally understands the difference between real combat and practice. Fighting isn't just swordsmanship. He says not to take it too seriously. What he did in a swordsmanship class was basically cheating. Leonhard doesn't seem to hear him. The instructor said to treat it as real combat, and in a real fight there's no such thing as cheating. As he speaks, his feet slowly turn around to face him. How about another round? He actually has a faint flush on his face when he says it. He's speechless. Another round? He hasn't even caught his breath yet. He only won because he caught him off guard in a straight head-to-head fight. He wouldn't stand a chance. This goes beyond skill. Leonhard's stamina outpaces his. Just then, someone cuts in. Stop right there. Regardless of whether this is a live combat exercise, it's still a swordsmanship class. Nobody gave him permission to use anything other than a sword. And another thing, how does a useless special admission student like him end up matched with a top student? Don't let it go to his head just because he knows a little magic. He can't believe they're actually throwing this at him. He didn't choose the matchup. 14. Fortunately, Leonhard steps in on his behalf. The instructor determined he was the only one capable of facing Gray. Please stay out of this. The commotion draws the instructor over. Just as Leonhard said, he arranged the matchup. He said he'd pair students of similar strength, didn't he? The instructor believes he's the only one who can go toe-to-toe with Leonhard. Hearing that, Leonhard feels a deep satisfaction. The instructor's judgment is as sharp as ever. He can see that the challenger isn't happy. If he's so unhappy about it, he's welcome to prove his own strength. defeat Gray and he'll earn the right to face Leonhard. At that, the guy's face lights up with excitement, which is exactly what he expected. He declares it. He earned his spot here by defeating the examiner himself. Don't put him in the same category as those who barely passed or didn't pass at all. Meanwhile, Leonhard laughs coldly to himself, chasing Gray just because of his admission type without knowing his real strength. It's like watching a past version of himself. This isn't going to end well for him. Leonhard even sees it as the perfect opportunity, a chance for everyone to recognize Gray's true strength. Leonhard stares forward with barely contained fury. He'd love nothing more than to tear this guy apart. After all, this man had the audacity to interrupt his precious one-on-one time with Gray. The challenger feels a chill run down his spine and looks up in confusion. He meets Leonhard's furious glare. Leonhard is boiling with rage. For that alone, you deserve to suffer. The challenger is completely bewildered. Why is Leonhard angry at him? Hadn't Leonhard always been against special admission students? Seeing this, the instructor asks if he wants to accept the challenge. He doesn't know exactly how strong the challenger is, but if he got in through the regular exam, this fight won't be easy. One thing he's sure of, his stamina and physical strength will surpass his. Even with the master's brutal training, he can't overcome years of steady dedication through sheer perseverance. He's not overflowing with confidence, but at least losing shouldn't get him expelled. The instructor nods. Losing won't get him expelled. This is just a practice class. That said, neither of them should hold back. He accepts the challenge and raises his sword, ready when. The moment the fight begins, the challenger launches straight at him at full speed. Time to put special admission students in their place. He sneers, know where you stand. The next second, their swords clash, but something surprises him. The challenger's blade is far lighter than expected. He shoves him hard enough to make him stagger. His expression freezes. He never expected to be overpowered like that. He keeps his face unreadable. The challenger's strength is nothing special. He must have something else up his sleeve. He has reason to suspect he's holding back. Nobody struts in with that much confidence without having an ace in the hole. But this he didn't expect. With a casual swing of his sword, he's made the challenger bleed. He sends him flying, then runs over to check on him. He was aiming for his sword. He didn't mean to hit his face. He thought the challenger moved out of the way. Then he watches him pick up his sword. Again, he shouts through tears. He only won because he wasn't ready. He won't be so lucky next time, even. The instructor seems to have a headache. If he insists on making trouble for himself, he'll let it run until he's tired. He's done stepping in. Round 2 starts. The challenger charges at him again with his sword raised. A minute later, he looks at him with an uncomfortable expression. Are you all right? The challenger is covered in bumps from head to toe. Even the instructor can't bring himself to look anymore. Someone take him to the infirmary. All right. When the challenger is gone, the instructor turns to the class and makes the announcement. The representatives for this year are Gray and Leon Hart. Any objections? He's not entirely sure what being a representative means. The instructor explains. In a few days, the top students of the first year will challenge the champions of the second year. It's a friendly match on points. Everyone fights until first contact. Then the instructor adds something more. The first years have lost 35 matches in a row, not a single win. But this year could be different. He and Leonhard are first-rate talents. They might actually be able to turn things around. 35 losses in a row, he's genuinely stunned. Is the gap between first and second year really that wide? The instructor nods. 1 year in this academy changes everything. Losing is normal, it's expected. If he can put up a decent fight, that's already impressive. But if he wins, he'll go down in academy history as a miracle. Just being selected is already an honor. The instructor leaves with some final words. Don't stress, just enjoy the fight. He rubs his chin and thinks it over carefully. The instructor seems completely unbothered. This inter-year tournament really isn't as serious as he thought, but as an Eye of God's special admission student, this is the perfect opportunity to prove he can actually fight. He needs to train hard. Meanwhile, on the other side of the academy, the professors gather for a meeting. The last item on the agenda is a proposal from Professor Boudra. His proposal: expel the Eye of God's special admission student, Amy White. This is Boudra, professor of the magic department, speaking. Ariel is not having it. Why would he propose something like that? She's the one who oversees the Eye of God students, but he says that's exactly the point. Amy White failed the third-year promotion exam, and yet she was allowed to stay solely because she's a special admission student. Everyone else who failed that exam was expelled. Does anyone find that fair? Ariel D doesn't bother arguing the point. She's already said it. Amy is steadily progressing toward a world-class combat level. The adverse reaction her body is experiencing right now is severe. She can't perform at her peak. Without that, she would have passed long ago, and her students are her business. It's not his call. Another professor cuts in. Severe rejection, hidden potential, a useless student who's secretly a genius. How long is she going to keep feeding that fantasy? Ariel senses trouble closing in. They came prepared. Amy's strength is real, so is the rejection, but she can learn to master it. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. If they expel her now, she may lose that chance forever. The same stale excuse, the other professors are already sick of hearing it. She said that before. Is she planning to keep someone here indefinitely who doesn't meet the academy's standards? What they don't understand is that Ariel does all of this for the academy's benefit. She is doing everything in her power to cultivate extraordinary talent. Expelling someone just because they don't fit neatly into the system goes against everything this academy was founded for. Then a large professor cuts in. How dare she talk about talent in front of him? Maybe the special admission students from previous classes were somewhat impressive, but this class, every single one of them is a failure. Another veteran professor sneers with contempt. Jakob, Rick, Amy White, Bella Albright, all mediocre. Looks like the great Eye of God is losing its sharpness. Maybe it's time to consider abolishing the Eye of God program entirely. Upon hearing those words, a question forms on Ariel's face. Abolish? How could they even suggest something like that? The founding council established this program years ago, but a majority faculty vote can also abolish it. Has she forgotten, then? Another voice, honestly, the current Eye of God students are far from impressive. Bella has improved somewhat, but that's hardly a major achievement, and her magical capacity is, frankly, questionable. Ariel tries to speak, but the professors keep cutting her off one after another. They're perfectly coordinated, attacking each Eye of God student one by one. She knows it's all orchestrated. Their goal is to abolish the Eye of God special admission program. She already knows her standing among the faculty holds almost no power right now. But many professors do care about whether the program benefits the academy. If Ariel wants them on her side, she must not give them reason to speak against her. Chris speaks with the air of someone who's already won. What's wrong? Lost for words. At least she knows her best days are behind her. The allied professors pile on. She may have had her moments of glory once, but perhaps it's time to step down before she ruins whatever's left of her reputation. Ariel still knows how to recognize real talent when she sees it. Those students need more time to grow. Given that time, they will show what they're capable of. She just has to make sure none of them are expelled before that moment comes. As long as her students aren't expelled, she is willing to sacrifice everything. Then one of the professors speaks up. He's heard there's a student named Gray, apparently very promising with a sword. Then let him participate in the inter-year tournament. Before she can respond, Budra's face twists into a cold, calculated smile. There's nothing more to discuss. He has to compete. If Gray proves his worth with the sword, they'll use the result to decide the future of the Eye of God program. Upon hearing it, Ariel glances toward the Sword Saint sitting nearby. The Sword Saint gives a slight shake of the head, a silent warning, don't let Gray fight. So Ariel rejects the proposal. His skills aren't suited for simulated combat. A real fight to the death would be a different story. Immediately on, the professor slams his hand on the table. He stares with barely contained fury. Excuses again, Ariel. Fine then, let's abolish the Eye of God program. Ariel's expression turns to shock. They don't understand. His abilities go beyond what any ordinary swordsmanship can measure. A suffocating silence fills the room. The director moves to close the meeting. The Eye of God students will compete in the inter-year tournament. The future of the program will be decided based on their performance. Ariel's reason for objecting, this wasn't what she wanted. Budra looks like a man who got exactly what he came for. He looks forward to this match, he says, and the session is adjourned. Before leaving, the sword saint casts her a long, loaded look. His eyes are filled with worry for her. Ariel sits alone in her chair, completely still, and she knows that my true strength has never been fully shown in simulated combat. Her position in this academy is too compromised to change anything, but things are what they are. Even so, she still hopes I can accomplish something in the inter-year tournament. Ariel breaks down in tears. If Gray can't stand out, the Eye of God program could truly be abolished and all those students will be expelled. She's counting on him to save them. And now the day of the inter-year tournament has arrived. Today, the entire student body gathers to watch the first year's take on the second years. First, they announce the top student of the first year, Leon Hart. His opponent is the best of the second year, Hammond. Then they introduce the first year's challenger, Gray, and my opponent is Diver, the Mo. Meant he sees him, everything clicks. It's the same guy who ambushed him in the hallway. Is he really about to face him in this match? In the stands, 3 or 4 rows of professors are seated, eyes locked on this fight. Boudreaux watches with obvious contempt. He wants to see what he's made of. Leonhard asks his opponent if this many professors usually come to watch. The answer is no, not at all. He's never seen it before. Last year, only 3 sword arts professors showed up. Hammond is genuinely confused. Why are there so many professors here today? Then Leon Hart figures it out. The professors must have heard about Gray, he says with absolute certainty. Their taste is impeccable. The more he thinks about it, the more certain he is. Hammond stares at him speechlessly. Is the top student really this devoted to a special admission student? In the stands, Boudreaux responds directly to Leon Hart's words. He's right. They're here to witness the final stand of the Eye of God. Special admission students, you'd better not diss. A point final, what does that mean? He turns to Ariel. At that moment, he senses her discomfort. She hasn't told him. Then she turns to him and delivers the news with arrogant satisfaction. The Eye of God special admission program is going to be abolished by the Academy. Those words hit him like a sledgehammer. Is this real? Ariel lowers her head in silence. The silence itself is already an answer, so that's why Ariel kept it from him. If she'd told him the truth, she feared he'd use that power. Using it now would be like throwing his life away. Then she flashes him a small smile. Boudreaux is just trying to break his focus. Don't let it affect him. Fight. But he notices it. Ariel's hand is trembling, though barely. He closes his eyes slowly and speaks. By saying that, Professor Boudreaux sneers beside him. Do what he wants. Go ahead, humiliate himself. Sure, Lai Boudreaux is already savoring their pitiful defeat. The other professors will finally see that Ariel and the Eye of God's influence have lost their edge. Then he finishes the sentence he started. Since the professor has said that, he can't just stand here and do nothing. Boudreaux's expression shifts with a flash of surprise. He doesn't care about being looked down on, but he will not let anyone question Professor Ariel's judgment. Ariel stares at him, stunned. She probably never expected him to say something like that. Boudreaux points a finger at him, and what strength did she see in him exactly? Unlike his professor, those of them who haven't lost their minds all agree he's going to lose catastrophically. His words actually encourage him. Then he supposes he'll just have to prove them wrong. Boudreaux looks ready to come down and hit him himself. Who does this arrogant kid think he is? But the professor beside him holds him back. Ariel slowly lowers her head. A quiet hope stirs somewhere inside her. The referee calls the competitors. Participants, take your positions alongside your partners. Ariel is deeply worried about him. If his opponent were just a strong student, his combat-hardened swordsmanship might give him some kind of chance. But that's exactly what frightens her. His opponent is something else entirely. He is a man who underwent surgical brain augmentation to push his reaction speed beyond human limits. In every sense, he is a living weapon designed to counter Gray's ambush-based fighting style. It's the worst possible matchup, and it's all that madman's doing. She just hopes he doesn't use that power, even if it means losing. So to put him at ease, Ariel speaks. Gray, just give it everything he has. Don't worry about her, and please don't push beyond his limits. He lets out a quiet laugh. Understood. Don't worry about me, Professor. Now the match between the top students begins. Both representatives take the stage. The referee explains the rules. The arena has been reinforced with protective magic to prevent lethal injuries. Activating your opponent's protective magic device counts as a victory. as if their lives are on the line. Both combatants look supremely confident they're walking out of this as the winner. And this duel between the year's top students has every eye in the stadium fixed on it. The match begins and Leon Hart closes the distance instantly. Hammond's expression blazes with excitement. Good, his charging speed is impressive. Let him see what he's really capable of. Whoosh, whoosh, they move so fast their bodies leave afterimages. The air thunders with the clash of two swords. When they come back into view, the exchange is fierce and relentless. Then Hammond slams his foot hard into the ground. His gaze completely changes, cold now, filled with killing intent. His sword drives straight toward Leon Hart's vital point. Hart drops instantly to dodge the attack, and then everyone sees a familiar move. Leonhard braces his arm against the ground and kicks without hesitation. The impact lands, but the movement isn't as fluid as it should be, and Hammond finds just enough of an opening to dodge. Leon Hart sighs quietly, looks like he can't fight the way Gray does. Hammond doesn't hesitate to compliment him. He's very good. Honestly, he's stronger than Hammond was in his own first year. Then his enthusiasm surges. Now let's step it up, let's see if he can keep up with him. Strike after strike, Leonhard reacts quickly, but Hammond keeps him completely on the defensive. Before long, Leon Hart is pushed back to the edge of the barrier. Hammond gives him no room to counter. He advances and drives a slash straight at Leonhard's throat. In that instant, the protective magic device activates. The match ends, Leonhard loses. Both sheath their swords. Now comes the second match. As Leonhard passes him, he says quietly, "Good luck." And he made that declaration in front of everyone, now he has to back it up. Before time rewound, he had defeated many monsters that drove others to despair. Compared to that, the odds in this situation should still favor him. At that moment, not far away, a sword drags across the ground as its owner slowly advances toward him. He murmurs, "Wait for him in hell, he'll send him there soon." So, this dark figure wants a fight to the death and intends to end his life right here on this stone. Right now, he's stepping into the arena for an inter-year tournament against a second-year student from a higher course. The moment the match starts, he charges straight at him. Against this guy, he can't afford to hold back. But what he doesn't expect is for his attack to be stopped, a slash that fast, and Diver just takes it without budging. Diver counters with a simple flick of the wrist and sends him flying across the stage. He can't help but be stunned. This guy's raw physical strength is on a completely different level. Even now, his arms are still trembling from the impact of blocking that blow. Professor Ariel said his reaction speed had improved, but he never imagined his physical strength had come this far too. The gap between them is enormous. No trick he can think of will be enough. So how exactly is he supposed to fight this guy? He still has one last card to play, but using it would destroy him just the same. Ariel warned him before, no matter what happens, never use that power. In the worst case, it could kill him on the spot. He gave her his word so she wouldn't worry. Ariel knows how important this tournament is, but the last thing she wants is for him to risk his life over it. There's another problem too. The arena's protective barrier might not even hold against a force like that. If he uses it, he could kill Diver instantly. So he's trapped. He needs to win this match, but he can't use the one thing that would guarantee it. Before he can think any further, Diver is already on top of him, clinging like a shadow, giving him no room to breathe. If he turns his back for even an instant, he's dead. He has no other option, he'll have to improvise on the fly. He raises his sword and blocks another blow with a sharp, deep whistle, and with a whip of the wrist, another slash follows. Diver's attacks flow like water, seamless, not a single pause in rhythm. To his eyes, the technique is almost basic, but backed by Diver's physical ability and reaction speed, taking him down should be child's play. It's not that Diver lacks skill, he's deliberately holding back. What is he planning? Diver flashes him a cold, sinister smile. His gut tightens instantly. This guy is up to something. Right then, Diver's attack breaks straight through his guard. The next instant, he raises the blade in one sharp motion, aiming it like a needle directly at his eyes. There's no way to dodge in time, and yet he crosses his sword and blocks it. That throws him off. Why did Diver slow down and let him stop it? He drives him back with a quick counter, but the question keeps gnawing at him. In the position he was in a moment ago, there's no way he could have blocked that in time. Something deep down is telling him Diver could have already finished him off. So why is he dragging it out? Up in the stands, Ariel notices it immediately. Diver's stats are reading abnormally high values. Without hesitation, she activates the Eye of God. She sees it, a mass of violet flame burning in Diver's chest. She doesn't even know what power this is, but one thing is certain: whatever it is, it's extremely dangerous. The nearby professors scoff. It's a completely one-sided beatdown. Is her precious student really not going to give up? They insist. This second-year student has a rather unpleasant side to him. He could end this whenever he wants, and yet he keeps dragging out that charming little pastime of his. The Eye of God student can barely keep up with the second year's attacks, and still he refuses to quit. Doesn't that make it abundantly clear just how outmatched he is? Professor Budra's eyes gleam with mockery. Perhaps he already knows the Eye of God program is about to disappear. Maybe this is his way of sending a message that if they keep waiting, the entire special admission system will collapse into chaos. The professor beside him nods. Exactly, what a considerate student, truly dedicated to the academy's well-being. The voice of Ariel interrupts their conversation. Stop the match now, it's dangerous. Professor Budra raises an eyebrow. Dangerous? What does she mean she's talking about a practice match? Another professor supposes she doesn't know. Allow him to explain. The arena is covered by a powerful protective enchantment. Any attack capable of causing lethal damage is automatically neutralized. The enchantment, it's the faintly visible blue barrier surrounding the stage. That's why the stud-ents can fight at full force without fear, unless she has some other reason for stopping it. He knows all of this, but it's not enough to protect Gray. The moment those words leave her mouth, a terrifying wave of energy erupts from Diver's body. The aura expands, creeping silently toward the stands. Even Ariel feels a chill. The dread, growing inside her, becomes heavier with every passing second. Her suspicion confirmed: something is deeply wrong with this person. He's trying to kill Gray. Diver drops into an attack stance. A dark aura coils and writhes around his body. With a deafening crash, he attacks without hesitation. An enormous sword aura tears through the air toward him. His heart shrinks at that power. It's on a completely different scale. He cannot take this head-on. There's no facing this directly. The sword aura rockets skyward and a massive explosion shakes the entire arena. When the dust finally settles, he swallows hard at that force. It's absolutely terrifying. A deep gash splits the combat platform clean in two. If he hadn't moved when he did, that would have been him. What shocks him most is that it cuts straight through the protective barrier, which means the arena's magical protection is completely useless against him. Lucky for everyone, the final defensive layer held, otherwise Professor Budra would probably be dead right now. This is the moment Ariel seizes. She already told them that barrier won't stop his attacks. She extends her hand and casts a spell. Damn Bradley. She can't believe he put something like that inside a student. She's trying to push through the barrier from the outside and reach the immobilized Diver, but her power alone isn't enough to break through the formation. She can't get an immobilization spell past it. No other option. She turns to the others behind her. This is an emergency. Deactivate the barrier and cancel the match. Now, someone will die if you don't. But those professors have been frozen by shock, too busy panicking to hear a single word she said. Figures, they're always the first to run when a real crisis breaks out. She glances sideways at the stage. Stopping it from out here will take time, and she doesn't know if Gray has that time. She calls out to him, "Run, stall the calm." She wants him to run. The problem is actually breaking free to do it. The next second, Diver launches back at him, sticking to him like a shadow, not giving him a single breath of space. If he turns his back for even an instant, he's dead. The sheer force of that last slash sends a wave of terror rippling through everyone watching from the stands. The SWO RD Saint watches in silence. The professor's spells will take at least 30 seconds to reach the stage. In a battlefield, 30 seconds is an eternity. He doesn't think they have a choice. Maybe it's soon, but he believes he can do it. He's already on the stage. He keeps moving, weaving, dodging, buying time. Every second counts. The sword saint rises to his feet and shouts, "Imagine your body is the sword. Stop swinging the blade. Use that power to move your body instead." Loud and clear. The problem is Diver isn't giving him any openings, but he trusts. The Sword Saint? He wouldn't set him up to fail, so he explodes into motion and creates some distance between Diver and himself. Let's see if this works. He is a lone sword. He focuses and channels everything into a single point. He stops. Thinking about the incoming attack, he pours everything into one single thought. He is the sword, he must. Diver closes in, he doesn't move a single centimeter. With a thunderous crash, the attacks land, slamming into the protective barrier, and he has already vanished. In that instant, Diver's expression becomes pure bewilderment, because he's standing right behind him and an enormous wave of power is emanating from his body. Diver can't believe it. How has his speed increased this much, this fast? From his perspective, Diver's movements have become sluggish. In other words, he's now faster than him. So this must be what the Sword Saint called the union of man and sword. The next instant, he attacks without hesitation. It lands exactly as he envisioned. The protective magic device on Diver's face activates while his power floods through the blade, the dev. Ice on Diver begins to crack piece by piece. Then Diver's body is launched backward with tremendous force. He deliberately avoided his vital points, but it doesn't matter now. What matters is that he destroyed the protective magic device. That means he won. The brutal force of the impact carves a crater into the stage beneath him. Up on the platform, Professor Budra goes pale. He cannot believe his attack broke through the protective barrier. What kind of match is this? The Sword Saint calls to the referee. Go check on the other student. That last hit shouldn't have reached anything vital. The referee moves instantly and calls for the medical team. The next second, a hand claws up from inside the crater. A dark aura twists and coils across every inch of his body. The Sword Saint's eyes narrow. Something is clearly very wrong with this individual. Dark energy bursts from every part of his body. Hair standing on end, he lets out a furious roar toward the sky. He's completely lost his mind. Ariel warns him immediately. The fight isn't over, stay alert, but every instinct he has is screaming at him, run. Waves of dark aura surge toward him from every direction. They don't just carry overwhelming pressure, they hit with impact and force. All he can do is keep falling back and holding on, maintaining distance. The dark aura's attack speed isn't all that fast. You can handle this. But the battlefield itself is being torn apart. Professor Budra is frozen, completely unable to believe what he's seeing. Behind him, people are already scrambling to flee. At the same time, the magic squad arrives. 2 of them get to work deactivating the barrier, but it'll take at least 10 more seconds to bring it down completely. 10 seconds feels like an eternity on this battlefield. Those 10 seconds could decide everything. The only thing I can think of is surviving those 10 seconds until the professors can step in. He looks at the monster in front of him. It won't give him that chance. It's already decided to kill him. Its body blurs and appears right in front of him before he can react. He raises his sword just in time to block, but that force and speed send a chill straight through him from head to toe. No human being should be capable of this. Something is deeply wrong with him. Although, thinking about it, neither is he. He's in no position to talk. In an instant, he mirrors what Diver just did and his silhouette vanishes from where he stood. When he reappears, he's behind him and his strike is already loaded. His eyes reflect the same killing intent. Diver came here to kill him, so he won't show any mercy either. The reaction speed Diver shows is still remarkable even now. To his eyes, it's still not fast enough. Something doesn't happen the way he expects. A heavy stream of blood spills from his lips. It's the mysterious power inside him overloading his body. Beyond the barrier, Ariel is frantic, screaming at him to run and stop fighting. But she doesn't know that the moment he turns his back, he's dead. The power has surpassed anything he could have imagined. The only thing he can do now is keep countering. In this moment, he channels every last drop of the mysterious power within him into his blade. If Diver wants a fight to the death, that's exactly what he's going to get. But even that isn't enough. He needs more power, far more. After what feels like an eternity, he feels the power reach its absolute peak. Now it's his turn. With a single clean and devastating slash, 2 severed arms go flying. Diver's body is sent launching back armless. He spared the head on purpose. He needs to know what was done to him. What procedure turned him into this? Diver's pupils go dark blank and a raw, rasping scream tears from his throat. Then he falls, this time for real. The only mercy he showed was leaving him. Alive, with a dull thud, Diver drops to his knees, a dark aura still seeping from his severed arms. Ariel is stunned. The two magic professors behind her are too. Nobody expected him to actually win. When the fight ends, the platform is left in ruins. At that moment, the barrier finally deactivates. A group of instructors, led by Ariel, storms the platform and rushes toward him. She immobilizes Diver without a word, not sparing a single second for how severe his injuries are. He straightens up with effort, trembling. It's finally over, but the very next instant something terrible happens. Blood pours from wounds all over his body. Every cut and laceration he sustained during the fight tears open all at once. The sight nearly stops Ariel's heart. Gray has to be all right. She pours every last drop of magic she has, converts all her power into healing magic and channels it into him. 3 more professors burst through from behind. Ariel wastes no time. Heal him now. A warm wave of energy wraps around him. Slowly he opens his eyes. A faint smile forms on his lips. The eye of God's special admission, he kept it. He stayed awake. Ariel lets out a long sigh of relief, but a second later, she goes completely still. She expected him to simply stand up, too. Professors look on in disbelief. Is he sure he's all right? He's already on his feet. He looks at Ariel and asks her to check him with the eye of God. Ariel slowly removes her glasses. A vivid blue light burns brightly in her left eye. As she examines his condition, her expression turns to pure shock. She can barely believe what she sees. After channeling that much power, his soul doesn't have so much as a scratch, and as for his body, the healing magic has already done its work. There should be no pain left. The sword Saint lets out a quiet laugh from one side. Looks like it worked. They managed to reduce the consequences just as he'd hoped. He suspected as much. Ariel spins toward him, her voice sharp. He calls that reducing the impact. The sword Saint notices something unusual in her tone. He looks and sees exactly what he feared. Ariel is clearly furious. Without the defensive magic, he would have died. The sword Saint tries to calm her. They kept the damage within what healing magic could handle. All things considered, that's a good result. Ultimately, the sword Saint wants him to one day be able to withstand the recoil on his own. He carried it through in time, and now he understands why the training has been so demanding. That's what all of it was for. Overall, a lot of things didn't go exactly as planned, but the outcome is acceptable. Then Ariel looks at Diver, now nothing more than a stump crumpled on the ground. This guy had way too much of a bloodlust. Ariel turns to the nearby professor. He believes it's time for the official announcement of who won this match. Unless he's gone blind, it should have been plainly visible that Diver's protective magic device activated from Gray's strike. The winner of this match is Gray of the first year. The stands erupt. A first-year student just defeated a second-year prodigy. Chants of admiration flood the arena. Gray is incredible. The Eye of God's special admissions really do produce something extraordinary. This victory ends the first year's losing streak, all 35 of them. Honestly, the Sword Saint no longer thinks that record matters. After witnessing this match, who could possibly question Ariel's judgment in granting that special admission? The director lets out a quiet chuckle. Having witnessed this, there's nothing left to do but admit she was right. No one will dare support the proposal to abolish the Eye of God's special admission program now. If anything, they should all be ashamed for having considered it. They almost turned away a student of this caliber. Ariel doesn't join the conversation. She stands apart from the others, alone. Her body trembles slightly, not from fear but from emotion. Gray gave her a real surprise today. A quiet smile spreads across her face. Her eyes shimmer with tears she makes no attempt to hide. In Instru, a bald professor speaks up. In fact, those who push to abolish the Eye of God program owe the world some serious reflection on their own responsibility. With those words, every eye in the room turns toward Professor Boudra and his group. Cold sweat breaks out on their foreheads. For once, they have nothing to say. A moment later, they scramble to make excuses and slip away. Watching them slink off, everyone laughs. Never make an enemy of a god. The old saying still holds true. Compared to before, Ariel has calmed down considerably. Times have changed after all. Meanwhile, Ariel is still arguing with the Sword Saint, who is doing everything in his power not to listen because she always ends up winning. He doesn't notice that he's been watching her in silence. Something happened to her earlier. Then He hears the director's voice from behind him. Now that the commotion has settled, there are a few things he'd like to discuss. He's curious, what could the director possibly want from him? Looking at his expression, he gets a pretty clear sense. It's probably about the mysterious power he keeps it to himself and simply asks what this is about. The director tells him that during the match it became clear that Diver had been forcibly infused with some kind of unnatural power. A thorough investigation will be launched, but the fact remains that a match that was supposed to be completely safe almost cost a student his life. He bows his head respectfully and apologizes. The Academy failed to detect the anomaly in time, and for that, he takes full responsibility. He came in person to apologize. He lets out a soft laugh, relieved the director isn't asking about his own power. Don't worry about it. In the end, there was no lasting damage. The director adjusts his glasses. Thank you for understanding. Now then, when Diver lost control, you also released some kind of power, didn't you? He sighs in. Wardley, nobody in this academy is the direct type. They all love that routine, be polite first, then come in with the real agenda. Sure enough, exactly where he expected this to go, it didn't seem. Like magic, he says, it was something far stranger. A power that modern magical theory can't even begin to analyze. He wants to know why he studied a power like that. He closes his eyes slowly. He doesn't know how to answer. No matter what he says, he can't explain what lives inside him. Even to fulfill his mission, he can't afford to let anything slip, especially while the architect behind the liquidator is still hiding somewhere in the shadows. So he tells the director plainly, he doesn't know. The director doesn't believe him for a second. He used that power himself and he's telling him he doesn't know what it is. He repeats it. He didn't know that power was inside him. Professor Ariel discovered it and explained it to him. Ariel doesn't look at him, she doesn't know what he's plotting, but she knows every word he just said was a lie. When he defeated the ogre general, he was already able to use that power freely. He meets her gaze and sends a silent message. Please play along. To stop the liquidator, he needs her to keep acting as the one who holds knowledge of his power. She reads his expression perfectly. So that's his game. He's really thought this all the way through. Honestly, he doesn't act at all like someone living his life for the first time. Don't tell her he's one of those reincarnated heroes from a fantasy novel. Even so, that's too ridiculous to seriously consider. Ariel steps forward slowly. Since he trusts her so much, she supposes she has no choice but to step in, taking his side. Ariel addresses the director directly. As he's observed, Gray's power cannot be analyzed through conventional magical theory. However, she can see it clearly with her own eyes. After studying his power, she asked Professor Heathcote to assist with his training. That's what allowed him to maintain the level of control he showed today. She's still researching how to best guide and develop it, but above all, everything related to Gray's power, she would like to ask that it be left entirely in her hands. The Director nods. Having witnessed that fight himself, he's in no position to refuse. He makes a decision then and there. From this moment forward, all operations, whether concerning Gray or the entire Eye of God special group, will fall under the command of Professor Ariel. If the Academy can be of any assistance, they need only ask. Both Ariel and he blink in. Surprised, the Academy just granted her full authority. They share a glance and both smile. The director speaks again. Right then, let's head to the underground medical room to review Diver's condition. He'll need her Eye of God for this. Please come. Together, Ariel and the director leave. 3 hours pass in what feels like an instant. The moment Ariel finishes her investigation, she calls him immediately. According to her findings, the power used in Diver's body is nearly identical to the Liquidator's. The power that erupted from Diver is the same one they saw in that laboratory. Without question, they used the same dark crystal from that facility on him, but he still doesn't fully understand it. What exactly happened to him then? Ariel says something that leaves him cold. The person had died long ago. The only thing left of his soul was the capacity to receive and execute orders. So when that power activated, Diver lost control instantly, and all of it was because of what he did to him. It's possible that by implanting that power, the person he used to be simply ceased to exist. And the reason he came specifically to challenge him, he was the target. It was retaliation for the death of Professor Bradley. That thought pulls him somewhere darker. If they manipulated Diver after Valiant's death, doesn't that mean there's a third party involved? Ariel is sharp. She'd already thought of it. Exactly. There must be someone more significant pulling the strings behind all of this. She'll keep investigating the connections, but it will take time. In a different tone, Ariel tells him the Academy itself is somehow involved in all of this. The World's United Academy is far less straightforward than anyone believed. He tells her he understands and that if she needs anything, she only has to say the word. Ariel rests her hand on the windowsill, letting the last warmth of the setting sun fall across her fingers. She speaks quietly. Thank you. Thanks to him, what should have been a hopeless situation was turned around. And also for his power, it seems he's learned to use it without damaging his soul. He scratches the back of his neck, a little self-conscious. Yeah, though the recoil on his body was actually worse. But what Ariel says next leaves him puzzled. She tells him not to worry about it. The Sword Saint has taken his training to the next level. His heart jumps. Is that really true? The Sword Saint deserves all the credit. Without him, he never could have controlled the power's recoil. Ariel nods. He will guide him through the next phase of training, train under his tutelage, and he'll learn to control that power at a far higher level than he currently can. The next day, he begins training with the Sword Saint. This time, the training ground is filled with combat dummies surrounding him on all sides. The Sword Saint calls from behind him. Training like this is dangerous and painful. If he wants to go slower, there are safer options. He's sure. Behind the Sword Saint, a group of instructors watches with close attention. They're finally taking him seriously. This is exactly the kind of dangerous training he needs to push his power to the next level. With that determination, the Sword Saint stops arguing. Then, let's begin. He closes his eyes slowly and focuses. He recalls what the Sword Saint told him before. Imagine yourself as the sword. He is a lone sword. He holds onto that feeling. Gradually, the mysterious power begins to flow along the blade. Before he realizes it, the power has already spread throughout his entire body. The training begins now. With a single precise slash, every combat dummy in front of him is shattered to pieces. The speed of that strike grazes the absolute limit. With the mysterious power flowing through the blade, a single movement is enough to reduce them to splinters. Wherever his silhouette passes, the slightest movement of the sword destroys everything. Today his objective is to destroy the last dummy as fast as possible. The other instructors watching are clearly stunned. Incredible, his speed is extraordinary. But the Sword Saint's expression is more complicated. In that moment, he realized something wasn't going right. He launches a slash at the next combat dummy. The next instant, blood pours from all over his body just like before. He knows he can't avoid gritting his teeth. To hold through the pain, he swings the sword again, and after the final slash, he collapses. That's the signal for the instructors behind him. They step forward immediately and channel healing magic into his body. As the magic courses through him, the blood on his forehead slowly fades. He stays completely composed as if nothing happened. Thank you. The Sword Saint laughs. Not bad, he held on a little longer than last time. With enough repetition, his body should gradually learn to endure the recoil. He flexes his wrist. He was so focused that he missed something important. In that state of intensity, he couldn't feel pain. The truth is, using this power is excruciating. The Sword Saint steps slowly toward him. Pain and suffering mean he's surpassing his own limits. Whether this training is too much, continuing or not is his decision. And he answers with action. Whether it's too much or not, he's going to keep going. He has no time to waste. He asks the Sword Saint for another round. He needs his body to adapt to this power as fast as possible. Then the sound of heels clicking echoes into the room, and a voice tells them to stop. It's Professor Ariel. She doesn't look happy. She tells him, straight, this training is only done once a day. She's worried about him. Repeating it could cause damage. He says, all right. The other instructors have already healed his body through this method. His soul shouldn't be taking any damage, but Ariel disagrees. Physical damage can be healed, but if his mind takes another heavy hit before it's fully stabilized, that's a completely different problem. It could end up affecting even the level at which he can wield his sword. She knows this better than anyone. She lived through it firsthand. That hidden injury was precisely the reason she couldn't unleash her full power when it mattered most. The Sword Saint steps in. Honestly, he himself wouldn't be able to repeat this training multiple times a day. Listen to Ariel with one. With a deafening crash, the sword saint drops the armor he was holding onto the ground. The impact alone makes clear just how heavy it is. One of the instructors cuts in, bewildered. With all due respect, why is he in such a hurry to get stronger? He's already powerful enough. Ariel steps in quickly to deflect the question. This is her fault. She was the one who dragged Gray into the conflict with Bradley, which is why those behind Bradley now see Gray as a target. The diver incident is only the beginning. Someone is operating from the shadows within this academy, and the bloodthirsty criminal group that managed to steal Bradley's magical catalyst could come after him at any moment. So isolating him under heavy security won't solve it. There's no guarantee they can protect him completely. The only answer is for him to get stronger himself. That's the only way to survive. After hearing her words, he places his hand over his chest. Don't worry about him. Stopping Valian's experiments was his decision. He will stop it whatever it takes, because if they don't, humanity is finished. Ariel nods, satisfied. He's an exceptional student. She can help them bring that power to its full potential. The sword saint lets out a hearty laugh. Looks like they already have something in mind, don't they? Ariel continues. Don't tell her he's forgotten the fastest safe method for a sword genius to grow stronger. At that, the sword saint gives him a long, slow, deliberate look from head to toe. He stands there watching with curiosity, wondering what he's thinking. The sword saint breaks into a crooked grin. For a sword genius, the fastest solution is a new sword. Instinctively, he glances down at the sword on his hip. It's the blade issued by the academy, supposedly a top-tier custom weapon for a first-year student. Ariel steps in. That sword may be top-tier for a first year, but it won't hold up under his power. He looks at the blade. She's right. There are already several chips along the edge. As she said, his current power could shatter it without much effort. Ariel gives a knowing smile. Don't worry, she'll take him to her treasure vault and let him choose a proper weapon. The sword saint raises an eyebrow. Is she really going to let him pick from there? Ariel waves it off. It's fine, he's earned it. She extends her hand with a grand, sweeping gesture, then she turns in place and reaches toward the empty air. In an instant, a cutting blue light tears open in front of them. He watches in disbelief as what appears to be a door slowly materializes out of nothing. Ariel turns her head and gives him a calm, amused smile. Gray, why are you just standing there? Please come in. The time has come to choose your weapon. He steps into the professor's armory without hesitation. The moment he's inside, he's completely stunned. Before his eyes stretch enormous jars filled with gold coins and an endless array of strange artifacts of every kind. The wealth stored here surpasses what dozens of generations could earn in entire lifetimes. And soon, he'll be choosing a weapon from this very vault. It's so enormous that even Professor Ariel has forgotten where the sword section is. He's left completely speechless by everything he sees. The sword saint speaks calmly. What he's here to do today is simple: choose a sword. Professor Ariel tells him not to hold back. Choose the best one. This opportunity won't come again. He scans the room. Every single sword here is exquisitely crafted. Honestly, he doesn't even know where to begin. Professor Ariel understands. Too many options can be just as paralyzing as having none. She'd love for him to test every sword here at full power, but since his strength is so unique, they can only test one sword per day. So they'll narrow it down and go through them one by one. She picks up the sharpest sword in the room. Let's start with this one. The moment he takes hold of it, something feels wrong. This sword is absurdly heavy. Swinging it would drain all his stamina. Professor Ariel knows this, of course, but its cutting power is incredible, she adds. She snaps her fingers and a wooden post materializes right in front of him. He swings the sword with a thunderous crash. The wooden post is blown to splinters. Just as Professor Ariel said, its edge is on a completely different level. He's thoroughly impressed. He's never seen a blade this sharp. But both Professor Ariel and the sword saint agree this sword isn't for him. The power is undeniable, but in real combat it's far too slow. No matter how sharp a blade is, it's useless if it can't reach its target. Even so, against enormous, heavily armored enemies, divine beasts, and fortifications, this could be the perfect weapon. Ariel tells him not to worry. She'll give him a magical storage bag. As long as he carries it with him, the sword won't be a burden. He tells her he can't just accept a sword like this so easily. Professor Ariel lets out a small laugh. What is he talking about? This sword has been collecting dust here, wouldn't it be better off in the hands of someone who can actually use it? And when he comes face to face with whoever is pulling the strings behind Valian and Bradley, whoever is summoning the liquidators, he can honestly say he won't regret not having it. She has a point, whether they're here or not, nothing will change, even if they train with everything they have in that case. He accepts it with gratitude. Thank you, Professor Ariel. The sword. Saint steps forward slowly. Unless he plans to use it, make sure no one sees him with this sword. His words throw him off. He explains that if this sword were to enter the market, it would fetch at least 10 billion, no fewer than 10,000 gold coins. His jaw almost hits the floor. In his entire life, he's never heard a number so absurd. He didn't expect Professor Ariel to hand over something this valuable so casually. He tries to give it back immediately, but she gestures for him not to. She doesn't accept returns, especially not of something someone has already handled. His expression makes her burst into laughter. She said it's his and she means it. That way he won't hold back when he uses it. He thinks she's joking, but she tells him she never jokes. If spending 10 billion keeps an Eye of God's special admission student safe, she'll gladly do it. This sword is a reward for everything he's done. Even so, he hesitates before such an extraordinary gift. Professor Ariel finds his hesitation indecisive. What is he saying? Is 10 billion not worth it? Does he really think so little of her? He accepts the sword and promises to take good care of it. At last, a satisfied smile spreads across her face. Also, there are plenty of common swords suitable for daily combat. Come take a look. He never imagined Professor Ariel's treasure vault would be this incredible. The sword saint, overwhelmed, murmurs that there is no one in this world whose vision matches Ariel's. The Eye of God, that's why. She can generate wealth effortlessly whenever she pleases. Professor Ariel turns to the sword saint like the good teacher she is. Which one does he think is best? The sword saint examines the collection carefully. His eye lands on a sword with a golden hilt. Gray, try this one, see how it feels. He picks it up and looks it over closely. A sharp whistle, he swings it downward and it feels great. It feels incredibly light in his hand. He swings it again. Whoosh, whoosh. The crisp sound of the blade cutting through the air is almost musical. The more he wields it, the better it feels. He chains more than 20 consecutive strikes. It handles well, a finely crafted sword without question, but something still feels slightly off. Is it just that he hasn't gotten used to it yet? The sword saint has been watching his movements the whole time. He doesn't look satisfied. Try another one, Gray. He points toward the far end of the room. That one was built for experiments. It might be what he's looking for. He turns his head and tells him to look. He has a feeling he's going to like it. The moment he sees it, he goes completely still for a couple of seconds. There's something clearly unusual about this sword. It draws him in instantly. He's left utterly absorbed just from looking at it. Anyone can tell this is no ordinary blade. The sword saint tells him to pick it up. The moment he lifts it, his eyes go wide. It's far lighter than he expected. And then he notices something else. This sword has absolutely no edge. It's said to be used for testing new techniques. It was never meant for real combat. The sword saint explains that in essence, it's an edgeless but extremely durable block of steel. Gray, maybe this sword is perfect for him. Is he saying his strength doesn't even need a blade? Exactly, he suspects no sword, no matter how powerful, can truly contain his strength. The sword saint watches him calmly. If he keeps growing stronger, perhaps in time, every sword in this vault will end up limiting him, only slowing his progress. If that's the case, wouldn't it be better to start thinking about a future where he no longer depends on the blade at all? He slowly hands the sword back. The next instant, the sword saint wields it and cleanly cuts through an iron post. So this is the sword saint's true power, but the iron post doesn't stop there. It keeps changing. Moments later, it melts, pooling into a puddle of liquid slag. He's left absolutely stunned. Ned, this sword can do that? This is what it truly means to cut through iron like clay. Professor Ariel sighs. He just wanted to show off. She turns to him. She thinks Gray should stick to a normal sword, but she supposes there's no harm in trying. Profs. Sor Ariel asks if he wants to try any other weapons. If he'd like to try something beyond a sword, she can take him to a different section. He looks around and shakes his head. It's fine, too many swords already, not to mention other weapons. Testing them one by one would eat up too much of his training time. so he decides to try just a few more before he goes. He spots a red sword that catches his eye. Compared to the first, it looks lighter and far more solid. He walks toward it, but he suddenly stops. His eyes drift elsewhere. Something alerts him a presence just at the edge of his vision. There it is, a white sword, slender and very long. The strange thing is the persistent feeling that he's seen it somewhere before. He turns to Professor Ariel. Could she tell him something about this sword? Professor Ariel thinks for a moment. She believes a former student left it here when they graduated. It's not a legendary blade by any means, but the craftsmanship is excellent. That only makes him want to try it even more. He reaches out and takes it. The feel is instantly comfortable, as if the grip were molded precisely for his hand. He brings the sword to a wooden post. He gives his wrist a slight twist. He swings hard and the post splits cleanly in two. Neither Professor Ariel nor the sword saint saw that coming. He's stunned with joy. He never expected such a perfect fit. It feels as if he's trained with this sword since birth, an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Professor Ariel is already laughing as she comes closer. Gray, I take it you like this one. Very much, Professor Ariel, he says without hesitation. His sword is in his hand and it's impossible to hide how happy he is. In his entire life, he's never held a sword that suited him this well. Professor Ariel waves a hand. Then put it to a proper test. Let's see how it holds up to his power. He hesitates, but isn't this her former student's sword? What if he damages it? Professor Ariel tells him not to worry. He can be sure this sword would rather be used than sit on a shelf collecting dust. Trust her, she has a point. Thinking about it properly, no sword wants to spend its days gathering dust in a vault. He asks who made it. Professor Ariel says his name was Metatrum. His eyes fly open in shock. Of course he's heard that name. Metatrum, the greatest magical swordsmith in the world, a legendary genius of blade forging. He never imagined this sword was crafted by him. Out of the vault, today they'll begin testing with the first sword. Professor Ariel laughs a little. To check its durability and resilience, she needs him to push the sword to its absolute limit. She hands him the sword. Looking at it, something stirs quietly in his chest. Before he takes it, Professor Ariel adds, they'll start with the most unusual one. Let's see what it does with his power. He approaches the wooden post. He closes his eyes slowly and begins drawing the mysterious power from deep within. In an instant, that familiar red energy runs through his entire body. Now he can summon it. He opens his eyes sharply and his aura has completely dissipated. That's strange. This has never happened before. He glances over at the sword saint. Give him a moment, he'll try again. He gathers the power again, willing it to coil into the blade. He repeats it in his mind. He is one with the sword. He wants his power and this blade to become one, but the power he gathers disperses into the sword. Gone. He's confused again. What's happening? Why can't he channel his power into the blade? Professor Ariel notices something is wrong and comes over. Gray, does anything feel off in his body? No, he tells her, nothing out of the ordinary. Professor Ariel looks thoughtful. Then the problem must be the sword itself. Let's leave this one and try another. She reassures him, it may simply be incompatible with his unique ability. Don't be discouraged. Professor Ariel reaches into the magical storage bag at her side. Then, let's try the most ordinary sword. The gaze of Professor Ariel sharpens. She slowly draws a sword from the bag. Let's see what he can do. He's sure to be pleasantly surprised. He takes the sword from her hands and prepares himself. He repeats it over and over. He is a lone blade. He is one with the sword. He will become one with it. Slowly, the mysterious power manifests and wraps around the blade. In an instant, a red energy covers his entire body. This time his aura holds. He lets out a quiet laugh. There it is. The problem really was the sword, but then his focus sharpens suddenly. A voice resonates in his mind while at the same time, those sudden words leave him frozen. He looks at Professor Ariel and the sword saint. Neither reacts. It seems only he can hear it. He looks at Professor Ariel and the sword saint. Neither of them reacts. It seems only he can hear it. The mysterious voice speaks again when, in that moment, he doesn't know what it means. Behind him, the sword saint speaks. That sword carrying his power shouldn't be a problem. He steps alone into the training dummy zone. In an instant, he vanishes from where he stood. With a clean, decisive slash, he cuts straight through the iron-armored practice dummy in front of him from side to side. He carefully assesses the result. The raw force is roughly the same as before, but there's a clear difference. Every strike flows with incredible smoothness. He brings the sword down again and cleaves another dummy. The fluid motion makes each strike seem to require no effort at all. His body feels incredibly light. With a single jump, he covers a great distance in an instant. He moves and cuts, and within moments, dozens of iron-armored dummies have fallen. With each slash, his sword aura deploys like an automatic sweep. Every piece of armor in its path is cut through instantly. All of the professors watching are stunned. The speed is incredible, nothing like what they'd seen before. From a distance, his figure disappears completely. The only thing visible is a red sword aura slicing endlessly in every direction. He feels like he's flying. The sensation of freedom reaches its peak. Then, with a heavy metallic crash, his sword tears the head clean off another iron-armored training dummy. His eyes sharpen. He decides to push himself further. He wants to test his speed at the absolute limit, but in an instant, he freezes. Every post and training dummy in front of him has already been destroyed. He's surprised. He's already met today's objective, but why does it feel like almost no time has passed? He looks around. The number of targets is the same as before, and yet his speed has more than doubled. In the same time it used to take him to finish barely half the targets, he's finished all of them. Not bad. Professor Ariel is watching him with a puzzled expression. She calls his name. He doesn't respond. That worries her. Why is he just standing there? Then Professor Ariel suddenly realizes something is wrong. She shouts, "Gray, hey, can you hear me?" The moment her voice reaches him, his sword drops to the ground with a crash. Then he coughs up blood. His body crumples involuntarily. Everyone reacts. In an instant, they channel healing magic. They have to keep Gray safe. A powerful wave of healing energy wraps around him. Slowly, he manages to get to his feet, but his body is at its limit. He's completely exhausted. He's confused. It wasn't even as intense as last time, so why can't he pull himself together? The Sword Saint tells him not to push it. Come back with him first. They'll talk back. Professor Ariel delivers her verdict. Even with healing magic, losing too much blood drains all his strength. He needs to rest. The Sword Saint tells him he broke through a barrier that was believed to be unbreakable. That's a good sign, but he still cannot push beyond his limit. Professor Ariel crouches down and picks up the sword. Acting without awareness of his physical state is just as dangerous. In a real fight, if there's no dedicated healer with him, he has to be careful. Professor Ariel raises the sword and examines it carefully with her eye of God. What she discovers leaves her amazed. After everything that just happened, there isn't a single scratch on the blade. This sword is truly extraordinary. The student who left it behind clearly was no ordinary person. And its glow seems even more intense than before. Is she imagining it, or could this be an evolving weapon? Ariel watches the reflection in the blade with focused attention. The longer she looks, the more unsettled she feels. Then she turns sharply. She sensed killing intent. "What's wrong, Professor?" he starts to ask. In that instant, a massive explosion rocks the academy building. The shockwave is so powerful it violently whips Professor Ariel's hair. Both the Sword Saint and he are stunned. What's happening? A thunderous roar, debris rains down in front of them. He looks up and the World United Academy building is already engulfed in smoke and flames. Students flee in every direction, their faces pale with panic. Some of the professors have already raised magical barriers, prioritizing the protection of the students. What happened? Did this come out of nowhere? The Sword Saint says that area houses the dangerous material storage. Crimson flames burning within. This was no accident, it was deliberate. At the moment of the explosion, the Sword Saint glimpsed what appeared to be a magical teleportation formation. Are these people truly so bold as to openly assault the Academy's headquarters? One of the professors objects. That can't be right. The vault walls are protected by curse seals. Powerful anti-teleportation magic capable of resisting nearly all explosive spells. But only Professor Ariel sees the truth. She detects liquidator energy woven through the smoke. His heart sinks. Professor Ariel's expression is grave. In all likelihood, they used crystals from the underground laboratory to destroy the outer walls and nullify the anti-teleportation field. He can't stay calm. So Valian and Bradley's allies are behind this explosion. They actually dared to attack the Academy's own headquarters. Below, students continue fleeing in the chaos. Some are already being caught by the shockwave, killed by the explosion. Shortly after, the academy is attacked and Professor Ariel shares her suspicion it was an inside job. They managed to destroy the teleportation inhibitor and escaped. She won't say it openly, but this attack was 100% orchestrated by someone of high rank from within. He starts to respond, but Professor Ariel cuts him off. It seems the academy may no longer be trustworthy. Well, it may never have been, he has an objection. But if the academy were truly under enemy control, they could use its influence to openly take whatever they wanted from the vault. Why go through all this trouble? He believes the reason they went to such lengths to blow open the vault is that they couldn't obtain those items through legitimate means. Professor Ariel accepts his reasoning. She doesn't know what the top leadership is actually planning, but the most likely culprits are the bloodthirsty. These parasites have silently infiltrated the academy. Upon hearing the name of the bloodthirsty, he thinks of Bella. Her parents were killed by the bloodthirsty. Ariel speaks again. He killed Valian Bradley. Without question, he'll be their target. Stay sharp and stay alert, especially when he's outside the academy's walls. He nods. She doesn't have to tell him, he already. Then he picks up his books and heads to class. But when he arrives, the atmosphere is darkly oppressive. Some students are visibly trembling. The mood in the room is suffocating from the explosion. But shortly after, he realizes he was wrong. They received notice of an outdoor march training. March outdoors, it rings a bell. He got the same notice not long ago. The person beside him thinks, I didn't read it. I already saw it, I told. The training is in a zone infested with level 1 monsters. 16 hours of marching and camp training daily with professors present. A full week plus extra combat drills on top of that, as if that weren't enough. His classmate stares at him in disbelief. How can he be this calm about it? It's 16 hours of marching every day with monsters. Crawling everywhere, just thinking about it makes a full night's sleep feel like a luxury. He's already dreading it. Apparently over half the students give up every year because of this training. He lets out in a real fight, you never know when the enemy will strike. At least here there's a fixed time limit, which is actually pretty generous. He remembers the training with the Liquidator Squad. Back then, there was no time limit at all. They were dropped in the mountains without warning and forced to march a full week through a monster-infested forest. During that training, some nearly died from monster attacks, but since professors will be with them this time, that shouldn't happen. There's nothing to worry about. Leonhard cuts in suddenly. Of course, only someone at his level could take that training seriously. He says, trust him, what he went through before was far worse than anything they can imagine. But seeing everyone so unsettled, he can't shake the feeling that something dangerous is lurking in the shadows. He needs to conserve his strength. At first light the next morning, they gather in the main hall. At the entrance, 5 professors assemble to accompany them on the outdoor march training. The Sword Saint steps forward. This will be hard. Most of those who don't complete it don't make it to the second year. He encourages them to push through, spare themselves that fate. In the blink of an eye, they arrive at a small island. The scenery is breathtaking, but he can feel it. Danger lurks beneath that beauty. He looks into the distance. This must be the edge of the Winterberg continent. If he's not mistaken, that region is almost entirely uninhabited. They set out and begin their training without delay. They push deeper into the forest, but once inside, the professors suddenly veer off onto a completely different path. Someone exclaims, confused, that doesn't look like a trail. The professor knows that. That's the point. If they walk on flat ground, what kind of training would that be? The group falls silent. There's no choice but to follow. As evening falls, everyone's stamina is nearly spent. But Leonhard notices he seems to be doing just fine. The Sword Saint addresses the group. Only 8 hours have passed. They're halfway through today's march. Some students are absolutely floored. Only halfway, and it's only the first day. They'll get used to it, says the Sword Saint. The hardest part is always the beginning. Before long, their legs will carry them forward without even thinking about it. Some don't believe it, said every tough instructor ever. Who could keep this up every single day? But still, they notice it again. Leonhard is completely unfazed. He doesn't look tired at all, true to his reputation as the top student of the sword arts course. In reality, Leonhard is struggling too. but he fixes his gaze on the figure ahead and refuses to look away. That figure is him, Leonhardt thinks, just as expected from Gray. He hasn't shown the slightest sign of difficulty since the very beginning. After a while, someone finally gives up. A girl stops and says she's exhausted and needs to rest. And right then, a spider appears at her side. Her eyes go wide. Before she can react, the spider lunges at her. Click, a blade pins it against a tree trunk. The girl spins around. It's him. Thank you, she whispers. She's alive because of him. He tells her to stay alert while walking, pay attention to her surroundings. Some of the insects here are venomous. If one gets to her face before she notices, she'll be in serious trouble. Leonhard realizes he's not just walking, he's ready for any ambush at any moment. He can't detect a single crack in his guard, even while maintaining this level of combat readiness. After 8 straight hours of marching without pause, he can barely imagine what level he's reached or how hard he's trained to get there. His stamina is holding up well so far. The training he endured before coming here is paying off. He still remembers how brutal that training was. Sleeping a full night was a luxury they couldn't afford. But what weighs on him most is what Professor Ariel told him before, that he should stay alert, especially when he's outside the academy. This very training has brought them into open terrain with minimal security. Worse, the academy knows exactly where they are. That thought makes his fist clench. He hopes this training goes off without any trouble. He really hopes nothing goes wrong. When the first day ends, they gather and stop. Everyone sighs in relief and wonders what the school has prepared. Then, Professor Bigot steps forward and speaks. Starting now, the meal simulation exercise begins. A murmur ripples through the group. We can finally eat. The idea of food makes them cheer with relief. The euphoria is so overwhelming it wipes out the exhaustion of the day and the fact that they're still very much in the middle of outdoor training. Some are so excited tears are forming in their eyes. The professor said they can eat, they can finally rest. He shares the enthusiasm on the surface. But the phrase meal simulation exercise sets off alarm bells the moment he hears it. And just as he suspected, Professor Bigot levels them with a blank, unmoved stare. What in the world are they talking about? Rest just because? Absolutely not. This exercise trains them to prepare their own meals. During the march, they'll cook for themselves. Understood? Just as he thought. The entire group goes completely still. Before anyone can react, Professor Bigot divides them into squads, distributing strength as evenly as possible. He snaps his fingers. Each squad will receive a supply kit. Begin preparing your meals. A board appears alongside some supplies. Names are written on it. Squad Leonhardt leads one with several classmates under his command. He's the leader of his squad with 2 partners. He's not sure he can fill this role. Part of him suspects no one would want to take orders from an Eye of God special admission student. He glances over at the 2 beside him midway through a conversation. So they've been assigned to Gray's squad. That's right. He looks up. A young man and a young woman approach him with warm smiles. They've heard so much about him. It's a real pleasure to finally meet him. He shakes their hands politely. They're far friendlier than he expected. Honestly, part of him braced for them to say they'd never take orders from someone who didn't even pass the standard exam. So he asks them directly, straight up, do they really feel okay with him leading the squad? The other one speaks immediately. What is he talking about? After watching the inter-year tournament, who in their right mind wouldn't want him as their leader? After that tournament, every student and professor in the academy recognized him as the undisputed best of the year. Doesn't he know he's the most reliable option here? The short-haired guy adds, either way, the squad is ready. They'll do whatever he says, no hesitation. He didn't expect a response like that. That tournament must have made a really strong impression. Just thinking about it, he clenches his fist without realizing it. This academy judges only ability and he's finally being recognized for it. If he ever gets the chance, he has to share this news with her. At that moment, a student raises his hand. Professor, there's no food in the supply kit you gave us. This box only has a pot and a fire starter. The professor responds, in a real march you may have no food at all, let alone a cooking team. Having a pot is already generous enough, don't you think? The class goes silent. Leonhard steps forward. With your permission, Professor, he'd like to say something. In modern campaign operations, there should be magical logistics support, shouldn't there? It's hard to imagine a long march where soldiers carry no food at all. The professor nods. Leonhard is right, but that applies to pre-planned operations in camps mid-combat or when the supply line has been destroyed. He may one day be forced into a long campaign march with absolutely no preparation. Magical storage bags are extremely rare and valuable items. Unless he's part of a large-scale force, he carries his own equipment just like he's doing. Now, when the time comes, does he want to be among those who die for failing to adapt? At that moment, he notices the professor is missing one of his eyes. The others notice too. A complete silence falls. Leonhard apologizes politely. He laughs quietly to himself. So magical storage bags really are that rare. When Professor Ariel gave him his, he honestly thought it was just a normal sword case. The professor tells them not to worry about him. He has good news. Some of them have already noticed this forest is full of monsters. During the march, they kept the beast repellent active. He's about to deactivate it. In summary, they won't have to worry about finding food. The monsters will personally deliver the ingredients. Good luck. They can leave their packs here. See you. He snaps his fingers and the beast repellent dissolves in the instant it fades. They all feel it. An overwhelming, suffocating presence closes in from every direction, each one coming from the beasts. Within a few moments, eyes appear in the trees watching as the nearby students nearly die of fright. His squad mates turn to him. What do we do? He takes in the situation. It's obvious their only option is to hunt monsters and eat them. That's it. Watching ever since we arrived, judging by the tracks and droppings, there are small or medium-sized monsters in this forest. If we follow these claw marks, we should be able to track one down. The little girl on our team starts to panic. This immediate pressure in the real world is way too much for her to feel comfortable. Finding monsters in a forest this massive is going to be a nightmare, right? They're carnivorous monsters, so it's simple. I suggest we move around and let them come after us. In other words, we use ourselves as bait. In any case, if we stay here, we'll end up competing with other teams for the same targets. It's better to split up. If she really doesn't want to fight monsters, there are always insects and snakes. Insects take some getting used to, but snake meat is actually pretty good. In a forest without monsters, knowing how to make use of those food sources is an equally important skill. The girl looks like she's about to cry. She'd rather fight the monsters, please. Besides, we're literally surrounded by them. Snake meat? Yeah, no way she could ever do that. The others, just say I'm the squad leader and whatever I decide, they're with me. We headed toward a large tree that isn't too far away. I lead the squad in a careful inspection of the terrain, searching for traces. I crouch down and closely examine the marks. A beast passed through here not long ago. I make a signal to the platoon so they stay alert. It's already coming toward us. At that moment, the bushes behind us start rustling, and one of my companion's eyes go wide as he looks. Behind him, a flaming lion bear appears. Its claws are already launching a direct swipe at his head. With one single strike from that flaming lion bear, everything will be over.